A great mystic fairyland enchantment was originally difficult to break. Moreover, the giant Leviathan's intelligence was low to begin with. It simply wasn't able to differentiate between fantasy and reality. If the array had a boundary, then the giant Leviathan could directly break through it. But this mystic thousand-sea ceiling array had no boundaries. If the giant Leviathan attacked, its strike would simply fade outwards, causing no damage to the array itself. On a side of the deep-sea trench, the strange octopus was laying down the array formation with Bai Guanyun. The deep-sea trench was very long. The entire array formation had to cover a radius of 10 miles. While the octopus creature crawled onto the walls of the ocean trench, its body wriggled as it drew deep-sea origin energy through its arms and into its body. Brother Fish, that Lin Ming boy has many secrets on his body, right? Bai Guanyun asked in a seemingly casual manner. In his opinion, there was no way that Xian Wuji would be willing to pay any price to just kill this Lin Ming for revenge. The strange octopus looked at Bai Guanyun, its entire body bulging and pulsating like the waves of the sea. I do not know. Its voice was forced and hard to understand, as if it had to use some arcane ability to stiffly change its normal language into something understandable. Bai Guanyun pondered for a moment. He didn't know what sort of secrets Lin Ming had on him, but he very much wanted a portion of the spoils. However, he simply didn't have the ability to contend against Xian Wuji. His only chance was if he found several more allies or if he found some opportune turning point. I heard this Lin Ming is less than 25 years old. To be at the middle revolving core at such a young age, there definitely must be some sort of extraordinary secret on his body. Bai Guanyun didn't play around with the strange octopus. He directly told him his thoughts, hoping to arouse its interest. If we can capture Lin Ming ahead of time and use a soul-searching technique on him, then perhaps we might be able to glean something. Of course, the premise of this all relies on whether or not Brother Fish can fix the array formation so that we can hide this from Xian Wuji. As for the matter of capturing Lin Ming, you can leave that to me. I can guarantee you that there won't be any problems. Bai Guanyun's tone was very casual. He was a man of ambition. Although he knew that there was a risk of enraging Xian Wuji, he still couldn't resist the desires of his heart. As for dealing with Lin Ming, this didn't seem like a problem to him to begin with. To change the array formation to hide all this from Xian Wuji and then capturing Lin Ming? The octopus's mind stirred. Its hand movements slowed a bit, and its body oscillated. It was unknown just what this strange creature was thinking about. Without a doubt, Lin Ming was definitely a delicious delicacy. But, to move against Lin Ming was the same as stealing food from the jaws of a tiger. They would have to risk arousing Xian Wuji's wrath. There was still several days until this array formation would be finished. If it could use this time to plan its moves. While the strange octopus was thinking, it suddenly became aware of a very unusual feeling. As a deep-sea life form, it was extremely sensitive to any changes in the water. At this moment, it could feel a faint murderous intent rushing through the sea. Millimeter. Dodge. The strange octopus frantically screamed out. Its body suddenly accelerated to the side. Bai Guanyun was shocked, immediately following it. As for the spot they had just been floating at, the current of water there had twisted into the point of a blade, crazily spinning and slicing its way through. What is this? The strange octopus was shocked. That strange spinning water blade didn't contain any energy, but with just the driving force of will itself, it seemed as if it could cut everything to pieces. Who is it? The strange octopus and Bai Guanyun spun around, both of them looking in the same direction. There, they could see a blue-clothed youth that wielded a red long spear. In the deep darkness of the sea, he was like a god of death that slowly approached them. His entire body seemed to meld into the surrounding seawater, making that red spear in his hands seem particularly dazzling. Since it was hundreds of thousands of feet deep under the sea, there was no sunlight. One could only count on their own perception to sense things. But that red spear seemed as if it was emitting its own crimson light like a flame burning in the darkness. You are. Bai Guanyun's pupils contracted. This youth's face wasn't unfamiliar to him. Before coming here, he had already investigated the situation in the South Horizon region. He knew that this boy was Lin Ming. You are Lin Ming. Haha, truly I can search far and wide, only to find you so easily here. Since you've come visit me, then you might as well stay behind. Bai Guanyun's words seemed rampant to the extreme, but he remained highly alert in his heart. He revolved the energy in his body to the limit. According to his intelligence, Lin Ming's strength was inferior to that of a third-stage life destruction master, so why would he take the initiative to attack them? There were the two of them, and even Xian Wuji was nearby. Did he have a death wish? At this time, Lin Ming gave off an aura similar to a vicious deep-sea beast from the depths of the divine sea. It was like he was completely enveloped in killing intent, making anyone who looked at him feel repressed, unable to revolt. Bai Guanyun immediately extracted a peak high-grade earth-step treasure sword from his spatial ring. At this time, he finally noticed that Lin Ming's cultivation was actually at the late revolving core realm. Late revolving core realm? That was inconsistent with the information he received. Bai Guanyun didn't even have time to ponder the meaning of this. In the blink of an eye, Lin Ming's spear had already thrust straight towards him. Brilliant flames roiled, heating up the seawater until it bubbled. The spear shot thousands of feet forwards in an instant as if it were a blazing meteor in the deep night sky. Humph! Bai Guanyun coldly coughed. Although he was somewhat ambivalent towards Lin Ming, this didn't mean that he feared him. Merely at the late revolving core realm and you suddenly think you're undefeatable in the world. This old man will let you know just how strong a third-stage life destruction master is. Heaven-shattering sword. Facing this unfathomable Lin Ming, Bai Guanyun didn't dare to hold his hand. With a loud cry, he used 100% of his strength to launch a counterattack. This heaven-shattering sword strike was one of his great master moves. Meanwhile, the strange octopus waved its tentacles, ready to go all out. But in this moment, a bright crimson light suddenly shined out from between Lin Ming's eyebrows. The spear in his hand suddenly soared in speed. Concept of fire annihilation, chasing sun. The might of this spear was like a falling meteor from the god-transforming mirror's second world. With a loud explosive sound, the sword in Bai Guanyun's hands broke apart. What? When Bai Guanyun saw his own sword shatter like a pane of glass, he was immediately horrified. At this critical moment, he drew back in a panic. However, Lin Ming's long spear homed in towards him. As the law of annihilation bloomed in front of Bai Guanyun, all of the sea water around him began to instantly deconstruct. With a miserable scream, the right half of Bai Guanyun's body was covered in blood. Not dead yet. Lin Ming's eyebrows pricked up. With absolute silence, his spear swept out. Bai Guanyun was so scared that he felt as if his soul had fled from his body. Brother fish, save me. At this time of crisis, the strange octopus had also discovered just how terrifying Lin Ming was. Although it didn't know just what had happened in these past 4 months, without a doubt, Lin Ming's strength had risen dramatically. At this time, it was impossible for the strange octopus to contend with him. As for saving Bai Guanyun, that was simply just a joke. Instead, it hoped that Bai Guanyun could delay Lin Ming for some time so that it could safely escape. Since things had devolved to this point, it no longer had any intention of laying down any sort of ceiling array formation. If it couldn't kill Lin Ming, then the consequences would be dire indeed. The strange octopus flung out several tentacles, quickly fleeing into the deep sea. Bai Guanyun cursed in his heart. At the doors of death, he fiercely bit down on his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood essence, forcefully revolving true essence in his body, causing his body to suddenly shoot up 10 feet. This caused Lin Ming's spear strike to miss its target and sliced through his leg instead of cutting him in half. Puff! His leg bones ruptured and blood oozed into the water. Bai Guanyun screamed as his heart filled with a manic despair. Lin Ming no longer cared about chasing after Bai Guanyun anymore. He swiveled around and the Azura force field and the Death God force field erupted together. At the same time, he flicked his finger and a mass of purple flames shot out from his hand. As these flames appeared, the surrounding sea water instantly vaporized. A massive spherical hole was burned through the center of the deep sea. This fire was the burning star flame. Pouring his battle spirit into the flames, Lin Ming sprung out his 5 fingers and the burning star flame shot out like a hail of arrows. Oh! The strange octopus that had fled not too far away suddenly screamed. Because it was suddenly covered by these dual force fields, its speed instantly plummeted. It felt as if a sun was suddenly born in the sea, and the high water content of its body quickly withered away in the face of this purple sunlight. The strange octopus was from a deep-sea race and was a water attribute life form. Fire was its natural nemesis. Roar. The strange octopus let out a strange cry. It spat out a black ball from its body, shooting it straight towards the burning star flame. Monster's core. Lin Ming's eyes brightened. If he wasn't wrong, then this was the strange octopus's monster core. The deep-sea races were less like humans and more like highly intelligent monsters and beasts. A monster core was something that only a high-level monster could cultivate. It was similar to a human's revolving core crystal nucleus. Additionally, the most important thing was that it would only use this monster core to fight its enemies when it encountered a highly dangerous situation. The monster core was extremely fast as it collided with the burning star flame. With a loud bang, a terrifying detonation occurred in the deep sea. The explosive shockwaves surged out in all directions, pushing Bai Guanyun away. As for the strange octopus, because its monster core was damaged, it let out a miserably cough and flew backwards as it emitted a huge jet of inky black fluid. Lin Ming grasped his red long spear and stepped forwards. After becoming accustomed to the explosive shockwaves from the meteors of the God-transforming mirror's second world, these shockwaves were now no different from a cool spring breeze to Lin Ming. It simply wasn't even worth mentioning. He easily broke past the shockwaves. As his feet stepped forwards, he displayed golden rock shattering the void, instantly appearing in front of the strange octopus. At that moment, the strange octopus's face distorted with horror. Its monster core hadn't yet returned to its body, but Lin Ming had already arrived in front of it. The severity of the situation could be imagined. Die! Lin Ming expressionlessly thrust out his spear. The spear held the concept of burning heat within it. The crimson spear edge burned red like it just came from the center of a blazing sun. As it shot forwards, a massive amount of water evaporated around it. The octopus screamed out as Lin Ming's spear pierced right into its soft head. Ah! The strange octopus emitted a completely inhuman scream. Its originally milky white face became covered with rosy colors, as if paints were being mixed on its skin. Kai kai kai! The strange octopus's body rapidly withered away as all the water in its body evaporated. As for that spinning black monster core that was returning, Lin Ming snatched it in his hands. The monster core of a third-stage life-destruction monster could be considered a great fortune. If a martial artist directly swallowed it up, it would be useful for one's cultivation. In addition, it could also be used to refine pills. Since Lin Ming had decided to step onto the path of becoming an alchemist, he naturally wouldn't miss out on rare water attribute materials like this. Chapter 745, Fighting Xian Wuji. Chapter 745, Fighting Xian Wuji. From the time Lin Ming had appeared to when the strange octopus died, it seemed like a long while, but the truth was that only 5 to 6 breaths of time had passed. Bai Guanyun stared on helplessly as Lin Ming used this tiny bit of time to slaughter the strange octopus whose strength was similar to his as if it were a chicken or dog. In his heart, there was nothing but an inexplicably rising fear. Both of his legs had been cut off. It was impossible to escape. How could things turn out like this? Bai Guanyun felt as if he had gone crazy. 4 months ago, Lin Ming only had the strength to barely kill a second-stage life-destruction master. How could his strength progress so quickly? Normally, for a martial artist to advance a single stage of life-destruction every few dozen years was already an incredible speed. But Lin Ming had only taken 4 months to enhance his strength by at least a boundary. This caused Bai Guanyun to fall into a hopeless despair. But at this time, a billowing whirlpool suddenly appeared in the deep sea. A formidable aura surged forth like an endless tide. Bai Guanyun was suddenly overjoyed. He turned his head to see that not too far away, Xian Wuji had grasped a jet black lance and was rushing his way over. "Brother Xian, save me!" Bai Guanyun loudly called out for help. But as his voice left him, a burning hot spear appeared like a ghost right in front of his throat. "Xie!" With a faint sound, blood spurted out. Bai Guanyun stared at Lin Ming with wide eyes, unwillingness and disbelief coloring his face. However, as his perception had already faded away, he was no longer able to see anything in the water before him. The only thing that filled his vision was darkness. Peng! Bai Guanyun's true essence protection shattered and sea water came pouring in, crushing Bai Guanyun's body to nothingness. This was a depth of hundreds of thousands of feet. The pressure was extremely terrifying. Bai Guanyun was not from the deep-sea races. Once his human body lost its true essence protection, his eyeballs instantly burst apart, his eardrums perforated, and sea water fluxed into his body, squishing his organs, meridians, muscles, bones, and everything to mush. Lin Ming calmly took back his spear. With a wave of his hand, he retrieved Bai Guanyun's spatial ring. Lin Ming. A voice touched with the tiredness from the endless trials of life echoed outwards. As Lin Ming turned around, he could see that just 1,000 feet away in the jet-black sea water, Xian Wuji was floating, pointing a lance straight at Lin Ming. Lin Ming indifferently waved his spear, meeting Xian Wuji in return. On one side was a cold, dark light, and on the other side was a blazing red dawn. After so many years, Lin Ming had finally gained the capital to stand in front of Xian Wuji and fight with him. That young, ordinary youth that had just entered the Seven Profound Martial House now had the ability to declare war on the #1 master within the entire South Sea. As Xian Wuji looked at Lin Ming, various feelings and emotions filled his heart. It should have been nearly 5 years since my great-grandson Xianji was killed by you. No, in less than 5 years, you've risen up from the peak of pulse condensation to the late revolving core realm. I have investigated your past. When you were 15 years old you were only ordinary, not special at all. Now at just 21 years of age, a bit more than 6 years' time, you've grown from a mere common mortal to a top master that can instantly kill a third-stage life-destruction powerhouse. Within the Sky Spill continent, your speed of cultivation is unprecedented from ancient times until now. I am truly curious, just what secret do you have with you? As Xian Wuji spoke, Lin Ming didn't respond. However, the turquoise-eyed ape clan patriarch that was following behind Xian Wuji actually blanched. In less than 5 years he had gone from the peak of pulse condensation to the late revolving core realm. The turquoise-eyed ape clan patriarch only knew that Lin Ming's talent was monstrous. But he had never been too sure as to what Lin Ming's history was. But now, listening to Xian Wuji speak, this was the first time that he discovered that Lin Ming was an absolutely heaven-defying monstrous freak of nature. In 5 years, to go from the peak of pulse condensation to the late revolving core, with such a terrifying cultivation speed, only a fool would believe that Lin Ming didn't have some heaven-shattering lucky chance with her. No wonder Xian Wuji had been willing to pay any price to capture Lin Ming. This is truly unbelievable. Xian Wuji deeply sighed, his eyes flashing with a strange, otherworldly look. At revered Master Tianguang's birthday banquet, you fought with Xian Ji. Although Xian Ji was only at the Hutian realm, his talent was still extraordinary and he had cultivated the ancient devil arts. With his complete strength, he was even able to match a Xiantian master. However, he was still defeated by you, a mere boy with a trivial pulse condensation cultivation. At that time, your talent was astonishing, but there were talents like you all over the 4 divine kingdoms, and there were even many young elites that surpassed you. At that time, I was startled by you, but I did not fear you. The reason I wanted to kill you was only because I wanted to avenge Xian Ji's death, not because I thought that you had any amazing secret on your body. I never imagined that in such a short time, you will develop to the point where you could threaten me. Afterwards, you entered the Demon God Imperial Palace, and with your little Hutian realm cultivation, you played with us old fellows in the palm of your hand. You stole away the Nirvana Dragon Root and the Cosmic Melting Furnace. The meticulous plans that I laid down for over 10 years was actually made into a gift for a little child. How laughable is that? Even now, I still don't understand. Just how were you so skilled in ancient array formations? How did you obtain all those treasures and then make a grand escape to freedom? You snatched away the Nirvana Dragon Root and Cosmic Melting Furnace and then left for 2 whole years. Now you've returned, and you've returned as a complete monster. The reason I was so anxious to flush you out of hiding was because I truly feared you from the very bottom of my heart. I feared you so much that I even imagined days when I would take a nap, and the second I woke up you would have obtained the strength to kill me and would have already come rushing to my door," Xian Wuji said in a single breath. After knowing of Lin Ming's existence for such a long time, there had been too many questions pressing down on his mind. The pressure on his heart had increased every day. "Secret." Lin Ming faintly smiled. "Xian Wuji, don't you know about the existence of the realm of the gods? You fear how fast I grow, but that is only because you are nothing more than a frog in a well. In the 3,000 boundless worlds, there are countless extraordinary young elites just like me. One day, perhaps you will find that everything you've chased after in your life is nothing in the eyes of others, nothing but leftover garbage for them to step over." "Ha ha ha." Xian Wuji laughed. "What you said is true. There are no limits in this universe. There is always a higher peak, a stronger man. I am truly nothing but a little frog in a well, but I am unwilling to remain so. I am unwilling to chase after things that are nothing but trash in the eyes of others. Thus, I want to leave this world. And you, Lin Ming, you will be my springboard to do so. Perhaps your secret is only garbage to the powerhouses in the realm of the gods, but in my eyes, it is the most precious treasure. It is my only hope to break past my limit. Let's do this. Lin Ming, show me just where the limits of your strength lie." As Xian Wuji spoke, he flourished the lance in his hands and thrust it straight at Lin Ming. "Take my lance, sunder the profound heavens." Bang! Xian Wuji's true essence exploded out, forming a massive amount of pressure in the sea. The seawater around Lin Ming suddenly became as hard as iron as it began to envelop him. Although this pressure wasn't able to harm Lin Ming, it was still able to form a cage around him, sealing the directions where he could escape. But the truth was that Lin Ming had no intention of dodging to begin with. A frontal melee was what he desired above all. True essence revolved in his body as the heretical god force was released to its limit. Lin Ming held the red spear, pouring his battle spirit into the spear point. For a time, the entire spear radiated a glorious flaming red light. Chasing sun. The seawater was evaporated by the burning hot energy. Lin Ming's spear stuck Xian Wuji's lance point. Bang bang bang! Two amazing energies collided. The seawater crazily spun around, mixing up from the forces. As the turquoise-eyed ape clan patriarch saw the situation devolving, he had already long retreated. Millimeter, this is. In the instant that Xian Wuji exchanged moves with Lin Ming, he felt an incomparably sharp strength rush into his lance. It was like his heaven-step lance was unable to resist this force, issuing out a keening tremble. This caused Xian Wuji to be extremely alarmed. Burst! Xian Wuji loudly shouted, detonated the true essence on the lance point. He was driven far back from the energy backlash. As he looked down at the black spear in his hands, he could see that it was still shaking. If this continued, then he couldn't guarantee that his lance wouldn't break. This was a heaven-step treasure. If it were a high-grade earth-step treasure, it would have absolutely broken apart just now. Xian Wuji's vision focused on the red spear in Lin Ming's hands. That spear seemed to be a heaven-step treasure, but there was something strange covering it. Xian Wuji was completely unable to determine just what rank of treasure it was. However, even if it were a medium-grade heaven-step treasure, it would still be impossible to create such a terrifying pressure on his heaven-step lance. As Xian Wuji recalled that incomparably keen strength just now, his heart suddenly trembled. Could that strength be a battle spirit? The South Sea Demon region had once been a holy land. Its holy ruler, the Netherworld Great Emperor, had been a top-ranked character within the Sky-Spill continent 3,000 years ago. In the ancient texts of their sect, there were certain records of battle spirits. Xian Wuji didn't recognize this battle spirit at the start because this power was far too distant a realm for him. So, he simply never thought of it. This brat Lin Ming has actually formed his own battle spirit at the late revolving core realm? No, that's wrong. According to the description in the ancient texts, this sort of battle spirit is not at a low grade. Lin Ming probably formed his battle spirit at an even earlier boundary. He is still young and yet he comprehended his own battle spirit. Moreover, that spear strike just now didn't contain just a battle spirit. There was also an incomparably mystical concept of fire. The profound mystery of this concept is something that perhaps even yin-yang profound palace master Xingji's own concept of fire could not hold a candle to. Yin-yang profound palace was a sect that focused on the water and fire cultivation methods, using yin and yang elements to complement each other. Xingji trained in the fire attribute, and his cultivation was at the second stage of life destruction. Xian Wuji had also once experienced Xingji's concept of fire. But compared to Lin Ming's own concept of fire, it was nothing more than trash. A battle spirit comparable to that of a divine sea supreme elder, and a concept of fire that surpasses Xingji's own understanding. As Xian Wuji held onto the black lance in his hands, rough and violent waves beginning to churning in his heart. He had always thought that the reason Lin Ming became such a monstrous genius was because his luck was good and he stumbled onto a massive lucky chance. If Xian Wuji could obtain this lucky chance, then his achievements would be even greater. But now, whether it was the concept of fire or a battle spirit, neither of those can be attained with just a lucky chance. Battle spirit depended on one's will, and the concept of fire looked at one's perception. Could Lin Ming truly be an unprecedented rare talent? Xian Wuji's complexion sank as he turned grim. He lifted his spear and wiped his right hand on the lance point. Fresh scarlet blood poured onto the lance point and shaft. Then, an incredible scene occurred. In that moment, the black lance seemed to become a bloodthirsty vicious beast, completely absorbing Xian Wuji's blood and turning from black to a bright red. Lin Ming, I didn't think that with just a single exchange you've already pushed me to the point of making a blood sacrifice to my lance. Today, this battle will decide our life and death. Chapter 746. The disparity between them. Chapter 746. The disparity between them. Xian Wuji cultivated the ancient devil arts. He could directly sacrifice his own blood essence to his lance to further temper it, obtaining an even greater attack power. However, a martial artist had a limited quantity of blood. He would undoubtedly lose part of his blood vitality because of this move. Xian Wuji had no choice. He had to make a blood sacrifice to his lance in this battle with Lin Ming. The main reason was not to increase his striking power, but instead to reinforce his lance. If he hadn't done so, then his lance would have been cut off by Lin Ming's spear in just several collisions. This sort of disadvantage didn't originate from the difference in ranks of their treasures but from the existence of a battle spirit. In a battle between heaven-step treasures, when there was only a small difference in rank, there wouldn't be an obvious inferiority if Xian Wuji's lance struck Lin Ming's spear. But Lin Ming's spear had a battle spirit poured into it. This caused the sharpness and hardness of his spear to rise by an unbelievably large degree. In the past, when Lin Ming had poured his battle spirit into his high-grade Earthstep purple comet spear, he had been able to pierce through the body of a corpse devil which had been tempered by the profound gold divine fruit so that its body stood on par with a heaven-step treasure. In addition to that, he had received a medium-grade heaven-step spear from the time-worn Phoenix City that could stand on par with a high-grade heaven-step treasure in terms of hardness. If a battle spirit were to be attached to such a weapon, the degree of sharpness could be imagined. Xian Wuji did not have a battle spirit, thus he did not have the qualifications to directly confront Lin Ming. Thus, Xian Wuji could either use a massive amount of true essence to protect his lance or make a blood sacrifice to his lance, injuring himself to attack his enemy. Blood smeared the corners of Xian Wuji's mouth. He pointed his lance straight at Lin Ming and said, "In that lance strike just now, I was forced to withdraw my attack midway. Now, I will use everything I have." Now that Xian Wuji and Lin Ming's battle had reached this boiling point, there was no longer any path of retreat. Xian Wuji had to fight, and this was because he was a man whose heart was filled with ambition. If it was possible, he wanted to not only reach the divine sea but also ascend into the realm of the gods, seeing and adventuring through a much broader world. Now, with this lucky chance standing right in front of him, if he didn't fight now, then he was destined to die in another 1,000 years, his body reduced to ashes by the endless expanse of time, blood waves drowning the skies. Xian Wuji grasped his lance. Because of the wisp of blood essence he sacrificed to his spear, his originally white face was now flushed red, making him look like a demonic blood monster, and the spear in his hands like the scarlet tongue of a devil. Xian Wuji waved his lance, and a roiling red energy cut towards Lin Ming. Facing this attack from Xian Wuji, Lin Ming held his spear flat in his hands, revolving his true essence to the limit. His spear potential and battle spirit constantly rose. In the heavy water pressure hundreds of thousands of feet under the sea, every single move had to be made through the dense water, causing one to use up even more energy and stamina. Law of annihilation, chain of stars. As Lin Ming held the red spear shaft, he swept it downward. This spear strike was a move that Lin Ming had comprehended after reversing the chain of stars in the God-transforming mirror's second world. It had no name, but rather contained a trace of the concept of annihilation. As his spear cut out, it tore apart the deep sea, fiercely colliding with Xian Wuji's lance strike. Bang! The entire sea trembled and monstrous surging currents rolled up into a vortex. Thousands of feet away from the battle, a massive amount of sediment was stirred up into grey storms. Several deep-sea vicious beasts that were hiding in the sand were frightened, fleeing in a panic. Clang 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 clang. In this storm of sand and water, Lin Ming and Xian Wuji engaged in a brutal melee. The two heaven-step treasure weapons fiercely collided, causing the sea current to violently surge. In the high pressure of the deep seas, the water still wouldn't vaporize even when heated to a temperature comparable to molten magma. Every single strike from Lin Ming contained the power of his battle spirit, and every single lance strike from Xian Wuji contained his blood essence. Demon God force field of the heavenly demon martial intent. As Lin Ming fought, the killing intent on his body became increasingly thick and pure, starting to overwhelm Xian Wuji with a terrifying oppressive force. The Death God force field was formed from the will of a martial artist's killing intent. If a martial artist didn't have a firm will and they were covered by the Death God force field, then it was possible that the fires of their life would be directly snuffed out. Even a powerful master would be affected by the Death God force field, unable to utilize their full strength. Millimeter? This brat. Xian Wuji was shocked. Lin Ming actually had this type of domain ability. Just what had this boy experienced in his life that he had so many abilities that others could only wish for? Endless ghost scream, break for me. Xian Wuji turned his lance. On the lance point, a wisp of eerie dark purple flame appeared. For a moment, it was as if countless spirits were crying out in unison. It was as if this wisp of dark purple fire was condensed from the infinite spirits of tortured souls. Xian Wuji's lance had killed countless martial artists. It was similar to the great desolate blood halberd. It used the blood essence and souls of martial artists as nourishment to strengthen itself. The tortured spirits were constantly melted away by the Death God force field. But the dark purple flame on Xian Wuji's lance became increasingly vivid. Demon God flash. The muscles on Xian Wuji's face fiercely twisted as he struck out at Lin Ming's head. But Lin Ming actually didn't dodge or evade this strike. Instead, he thrust out his own spear, straight towards Xian Wuji's chest. Law of annihilation. Xian Wuji was startled. Lin Ming completely disregarded a fatal attack to his head and still attacked him. It was like he didn't care for his own life. With a turn of his lance, the energy that Xian Wuji poured into it suddenly exploded. With a loud bang, true essence violently surged out. Lin Ming's purely offensive attack had caused both him and Xian Wuji to be injured. Lin Ming was sent flying 1,000 feet away by the true essence explosion, but Xian Wuji was no better off. Although he had blocked Lin Ming's spear, the battle spirit-infused spear light still continued unabated, piercing through his layers of protective true essence and into his chest. Around 10% of the strike's strength roared into his meridians, recklessly destroying everything there. Xian Wuji paled and suppressed this true essence with a great deal of effort. Blood dripped down the corners of his lips. He was injured. Xian Wuji grimaced. Although this was only a minor wound, Lin Ming hadn't even defended, and yet he himself had been injured. But no matter how it had happened, the truth was that he had been injured at the hands of a junior only a fraction of his age. A fourth-stage life-destruction martial artist had been wounded by a mere 20-some-year-old revolving core boy. If the world learned of this, they would say he was nothing more than a joke. Boy, since you couldn't dodge my strike, you wanted to engage in a suicidal trade instead. Dream on. Xian Wuji sneered. Sometimes, when a martial artist was weaker than the others and didn't have the confidence to defend against another's moves, They might instead decide to trade injury for injury, forcing the other to withdraw. But Xian Wuji was deeply experienced in combat. He could freely receive and change his strength, always able to change his attack. He simply wouldn't fall for such tricks. A moment ago, he had temporarily changed the direction of his attack, blocking the majority of the attack. Since Lin Ming hadn't changed his attack, his injuries should be much worse. However, Xian Wuji's taunting smile only lasted for several breaths of time, before it froze on his face. He looked at Lin Ming with wide eyes. At Lin Ming's chest, the clothing had been ripped apart by the true essence explosion. However, there was only a shallow bloody wound on his chest that was regenerating at a speed visible to the naked eye. How is this possible? Xian Wuji was bewildered. His lance light had obviously struck Lin Ming. Even if it was weakened by Lin Ming's bodily true essence protection, it should still be able to grievously wound him. How could it only cause such a minor wound? Xian Wuji didn't even have time to think about what had just happened. Lin Ming's spear was already shooting towards him once again. This spear strike contained all of Lin Ming's true essence. It caused all the heaven and earth origin energy in a scope of 10 miles to spin around. In that moment, space twisted and the sea boiled. As this spear thrust out, the high-pressure sea water was split apart, forming a vacuum tunnel. Within Lin Ming's body, the heretical god seed howled as the burning star flame surged outwards. Bury the heavens. In this strike, the power of space fused with the concept of fire. Using the tempestuous space flows like a wind, it helped to increase the power of fire. Xian Wuji's expression became ferocious. He stabbed out his lance again and again. Emperor arriving in the world. Ka. Xian Wuji's lance issued out a keening cry as if it couldn't support itself much longer. But Lin Ming's spear shot forwards with unstoppable force, arriving right in front of Xian Wuji. Around the edge of the spear, space tore apart and countless space fragments flew out like steel needles, cutting through the deep sea. This move is. Xian Wuji's pupils shrank. His lance had reached the limit yet again. Turning the lance, Xian Wuji bit down on his tongue, forcefully spitting out more blood essence onto the lance edge. Peng! A massive amount of sea water vaporized, turning the entire seabed into a world of hazy fog. Xian Wuji had drawn back more than 200 feet, his face flushed red with blood as he gasped for breath in deep, heaving gulps. Hundreds of thousands of feet under the deep sea, every ability used here would consume over twice the energy it took on the surface. In this fierce battle, Xian Wuji had already consumed a great deal of his true essence. Because Lin Ming was still over an entire boundary lower than Xian Wuji, he had been forced back 1,000 feet. But, compared to Xian Wuji, his complexion still hadn't changed. There was not a single drop of sweat on his body, he still had plenty of strength left. Even after using Chasing Sun, Penetrating Rainbow, the Laws of Annihilation, Bury the Heavens, and engaging in a brutal melee for a short period of time, he still had plenty of energy. It had to be known that in the later parts of the God-transforming mirror's second world, when the meteors there reached 1.5 miles wide in diameter, Lin Ming would have to use Bury the Heavens to defend against them. As for the 2-mile wide meteors, Lin Ming would have to reverse the chain of stars. Even in this case, if Lin Ming was completely earnest in his battle, he could last for over 100 breaths of time. This had caused Realm of the Gods powerhouses like Fairy Foam to praise him and for young elites like Hua Wenlong to fall into crippling despair from his success. The reason that Lin Ming had such a great endurance was because he had opened the 8 inner hidden gates. With the tempering of the ancient Phoenix bloodline, his blood vitality now greatly exceeded even an extraordinary individual's. In these aspects, Xian Wuji simply couldn't compare to Lin Ming. Not only did Lin Ming dominate in endurance, but he dominated in terms of defensive ability too. With 100% tempering marrow along with the tempering from the profound gold divine fruit, Lin Ming's body was similar to a high-grade Earthstep treasure. He could easily engage Xian Wuji in a battle of attrition. Thus, even if Lin Ming's striking power was below Xian Wuji's, if they continued fighting, then Xian Wuji would no longer be able to support himself after another half-incense stick of time. Raising his spear, Lin Ming attacked again. Bury the Heavens. This was the same move as the last. True essence erupted from the red spear and space fragments cut out like shredding knives. Sea water was twisted into a giant whirlpool as the entire seabed vaporized. As Shen Wuji saw Lin Ming's attack only increase in aura and potential, his eyes finally flashed with a trace of fear. How was this possible? Was this boy's body a puppet or something? Chapter 747, The 100,000-Mile Chase. Chapter 747, The 100,000-Mile Chase. Bang! With another violent explosion, Shen Wuji was only able to barely defend against Lin Ming's Bury the Heavens. Under the shockwaves, he was sent flying back thousands of feet. In the shifting tide of the battle, Shen Wuji's minimal advantage against Lin Ming had already disappeared. As for Lin Ming, after he was forced back several hundred feet, he shook his long spear and stabbed towards Shen Wuji again. Penetrating rainbow. A blazing spear light pierced through the deep sea. At this time, Shen Wuji was still exhausted. He hadn't even managed to conjure up any new strength before Lin Ming's strike came hurtling towards him once again. Bang! Shen Wuji coughed stuffily as he was sent flying away. The tumbling blood in his body was barely suppressed by his true essence. The difference in their remaining strength was only growing. Chasing sun. Bury the heavens. Law of annihilation. Chain of stars. Lin Ming used move after move, completely overwhelming Shen Wuji. How was this possible? Shen Wuji felt the blood surging up in his body as wounds accumulated all over him. As he faced Lin Ming's non-stop barrage of increasingly powerful attacks, fear finally began to bloom in his heart, causing him to draw back. He was truly ambitious, but in this situation where his chances of success were becoming increasingly slim, he wasn't stupid enough to bring himself to death's door. Escape. This thought flashed through Shen Wuji's mind. He indeed had some cards left in his hands, but facing this inexhaustible puppet like Lin Ming, Shen Wuji already felt a tinge of fear. He feared that even if he used every final card in his hands, he still couldn't kill him. If that happened, then he wouldn't even have the chance to escape anymore. With twist of his hand, Shen Wuji took out an ash-gray pill from his spatial ring. This pill was refined from 10,000-year-old milk stalactite. After swallowing it, it could rapidly restore 30% of one's true essence. It could be said to be a miracle medicine capable of reversing any battle. There was still a vast distance from here to the Sky Spill continent. Shen Wuji only had less than 40% of his true essence left. If he didn't supplement it, then it would be impossible for him to return. With a flick of his finger, Shen Wuji grudgingly swallowed down the pill, immediately turning around to escape. "You want to run away?" Lin Ming's eye flashed with a thick killing intent. If he didn't remove the weed by the roots, then there would always be a viper aiming at him from the dark. After suffering a lesson from Ouyang Boyon, Lin Ming would not allow this kind of matter to repeat itself again. True essence erupted and a battle spirit-infused Azura force field spread out at the speed of light. The force field instantly overtook Shen Wuji, leaving behind an undetectable battle spirit mark on his body. Lin Ming had used this battle spirit mark once in the Eternal Demon Abyss to search for an exit from the 1,000-mile Forbidden Zone, and also once in the South Sea Demon region to chase down the numerous escaping masters there. If one didn't have a battle spirit like Lin Ming, then it was impossible to detect it, much less remove it. After leaving behind this battle spirit mark, Lin Ming would be able to find Shen Wuji even if he fled to the ends of the earth. Demon Shine. Have the giant Leviathan float back up to the surface to recuperate its wounds. I will chase down Shen Wuji. Okay. Demon Shine chuckled. Hunting down and killing others is what this saint likes the most. Lin Ming received his red spear and stepped with golden rock shattering the void, instantly chasing after Shen Wuji. In the deep sea, it moving forwards was very slow. In addition, every step forwards required several times more energy it took than to fly. Shen Wuji didn't have much of his original energy remaining to begin with, thus he naturally needed to run out of the sea first. Bang! Sea water exploded, forming a massive spray of water hundreds of feet high. Shen Wuji shot up into the heavens, flying straight towards the north. As he flew, he took out an enchantment bead from his spatial ring and tossed it behind him. Xian Wuji had used this kind of enchantment bead once before in the demon god Imperial Palace to block Abbot Whitebrow and the others from chasing after him. If it hadn't been for Lin Ming tinkering with the transmission array and changing it, then Xian Wuji would have had enough time to escape. Bang! The bead burst apart at the sea level, forming a blue-hued enchantment barrier that sealed up the water surface like a glass wall. As soon Lin Ming ran out, his speed dropped as he was caught by this enchantment. Break! Lin Ming thrust out his spear. With his battle spirit infused into it, he struck the enchantment barrier. This blue barrier that had originally been able to withstand both Nanyun Wang's attacks and Abbot Whitebrow's bright Buddha palm seal now had countless cracks appear through it. Break again. Lin Ming thrust his spear out a second time. This time, the enchanted barrier completely collapsed. He stepped on the void, turning towards Xian Wuji and chasing after him. This brat! Xian Wuji's mind went cold. Although he knew Lin Ming's striking power was formidable, he didn't that his enchantment bead would only be able to stop Lin Ming for a single breath of time. 3,000 miles to the north is a transmission array of my South Sea Demon region. As long as I can pass through it first and destroy it from the other side, I can expel Lin Ming from the space channel. With that, I should be safe. Mystic Thunder Wings. Xian Wuji formed a series of seals with his hands. Then, clothes on his back tore apart, revealing a pair of purple wings that stretched out. This was a flight-type treasure that was refined with plumes from several different saint beasts. It could improve Xian Wuji's speed to a certain degree. This boy is too difficult to deal with. Fortunately, this flight treasure that I refined can finally show its use. With it, it shouldn't be a problem to increase my speed by 20 to 30%. Xian Wuji unfurled his two wings, shooting forwards like an arrow. Wherever he went, a terrifying sonic boom formed, rumbling through the air like a moving thunderstorm. Even the sea surface was split apart from the wind pressure. In a single go, Xian Wuji was able to fly out several hundred miles. As he swept his perception behind him, a chill crept up his spine. Lin Ming was still chasing him. Not just that, but he was closing the distance between them. How could this be? Xian Wuji was greatly shocked. Even though he was flying at full speed and had the support of a flight treasure boosting him, he was still slower than Lin Ming. He discovered that with every single step Lin Ming took he would cross several miles. Space twisted underneath his feet as if it shrunk. With just several steps the gap closed by several dozen miles. What kind of movement was this? Xian Wuji grit his teeth, revolving his true essence to the limit. To a character like him, a 3,000-mile distance didn't take long to traverse all. But now that he was being chased down by Lin Ming, this distance actually became a trial of life or death. The distance between them increasingly shortened. If this continued for another half-incense stick of time, then Lin Ming would catch up to him. Once he was embroiled in another battle with Lin Ming, running away again would be far harder. Xian Wuji cursed aloud and clenching his teeth, cutting a line across his wrist with his fingernail. This was the third time that he would be using his blood essence. 2 drops of blood essence shot out, 1 to each wing. The mystic thunder wings turned a blood red and his speed rose up once again. After using his blood essence 3 times, even though he only used a few drops every time, it would still accumulate. Even Xian Wuji wouldn't able to continue like this. In this battle, his life source had already been damaged. If he wanted to restore it, it would take at least several dozen years of time and a massive amount of heavenly treasures. This damned boy. Xian Wuji was breathless with anger. The chances of him obtaining the secret on Lin Ming's body was becoming increasingly slim, not to mention that the South Sea Demon region was already 90% destroyed by Lin Ming. His losses had been far too great. I will no longer care about the South Sea Demon region. After I leave the South Horizon region, I will go straight to the 4 divine kingdoms. Xian Wuji and Lin Ming flew after one another, causing massive explosions on the sea's surface from the high-speed sonic booms that they created. After making a blood essence sacrifice to his wings, Xian Wuji had finally been able to create some additional distance from Lin Ming. Now, the transmission array was directly in front of him. This was a transmission array established on a desolate island. There were originally South Sea Demon region disciples protecting it, But now that the South Sea Demon region was in a state of near dissolution, these disciples had long fled to lands unknown. Xian Wuji fell to the ground like a cannon strike. As he hit the floor, a massive crater formed from the impact, shaking the island and causing rock formations all over to collapse. The transmission array is still here. Xian Wuji was overjoyed. He ran into the transmission array, and with a flick of his fingers, true essence stones flew into the four corners of the transmission array. The array formation was activated. After seeing the blazing comet that was Lin Ming closing in from a distance, Xian Wuji's eyes flashed with hatred. One day, this old man will have you pay the price for today. In the next moment, Xian Wuji's hideous expression completely disappeared in the transmission array. Millimeter? He ran through a transmission array? Lin Ming fell down to the island and swept his perception around. He instantly understood the principles behind this transmission array. This was the most ordinary of transmission arrays. It would at most send someone 100 to 200,000 miles away. Xian Wuji will definitely destroy the exit of this transmission array when I'm inside, forcing me out of the space channel. For a small transmission array like this, if there was a problem in the transmission process, it would be life-threatening for a martial artist with a weaker cultivation. But, for someone like Lin Ming, this was not a problem. At most he would pop out halfway through. Lin Ming jumped onto the transmission array and launched the array formation. Space twist, and in the next moment, Lin Ming entered the space channel. A transmission channel of several tens of thousands of miles could last from a dozen to several dozen breaths of time. As soon as 10 breaths of time passed, the space channel suddenly shook and the power of space began to chaotically distort. Massive cracks began appearing in the space channel. It was obvious that the exit was being destroyed by Xian Wuji. Hoo. From the cracks in the space channel, a massive overflow of turbulent space began to flood inside, forming a black storm that swept towards Lin Ming. If a martial artist with insufficient cultivation were swept up by this storm, they would be shredded apart and die. Even for a martial artist that was strong enough, they would still be thrust out of the space channel, terminating the transmission process. Facing this sort of situation, Lin Ming didn't panic at all. He flicked all 10 of his fingers, forming a number of true essence airflows that shot out. After the menacing space storm was struck by the true essence air, it actually began to rapidly fade away, and soon subsided after several breaths of time. Compared to the super long-distance array formation that Lin Ming had experienced before, violent space turbulence of this degree was nothing at all. With Lin Ming's comprehension towards the concept of space, he could actually break apart the turbulent power of space and forcefully complete the transmission. Set for me. Lin Ming thrust out his spear, stabbing it into the space barrier around him. The space channel that was about to break apart was actually forcefully stabilized by Lin Ming. The exit coordinates are around 70 to 80,000 miles from here. With the exit destroyed, the transmission coordinates would blur. Lin Ming wasn't a god. Although he could rely on his understanding of space laws to forcefully complete the transmission, he still lacked the exact coordinates of the exit point. However, with the battle spirit mark that Lin Ming had left on Xian Wuji, he could use that to approximate the location of it. There is still around 30,000 miles. Lin Ming confirmed the position once again. 20,000 miles. 10,000 miles, it's nearby. Shatter. Lin Ming stabbed his spear into the space channel barriers. In the next moment, space collapsed and Lin Ming was flushed out from the space channel. Chapter 748, Chase Through the South Horizon Region. Chapter 748, Chase Through the South Horizon Region. Because the exit to the transmission array was destroyed, Lin Ming had forcefully stabilized the space channel, eventually stalling him for a period of time. After he emerged, Xian Wuji had already vanished. Is this a series of transmission arrays? Lin Ming could feel that the battle spirit mark he left on Xian Wuji was already fleeing at a ridiculous speed. There was only one possibility, and that was that Xian Wuji had entered another transmission array. Casting a net with his perception, Lin Ming quickly found the transmission array. This island was obviously a transmission array transit station that the South Sea Demon region had established. The entire island was protected by an illusionary array formation, making it well hidden. There was also some towers on this island, that should have been where the disciples who protected the island lived, but now the towers had long been emptied. Besides their towers were several large and small transmission arrays, each of them 100 to 200 feet in diameter. Lin Ming estimated that they should have a range of 100 to 200,000 miles. Among these transmission arrays, one of them had been destroyed. It was clear that this was the one Xian Wuji had just emerged from. Additionally, besides this ruined transmission array, there were 3 to 4 similar transmission arrays. One of them was still shining with light, releasing fluctuations of energy that indicated that it had just been activated. Without a doubt, Xian Wuji had gone through this transmission array. While Xian Wuji could destroy the exit of a transmission array, he couldn't destroy the entrance, otherwise, even he couldn't pass through. After Lin Minute understood the principles behind these transmission arrays, he stepped into another transmission array, launching it once more. At this time, several 100,000 miles away from the South Sea Demon region, in the valley of a remote mountain range, there were 7 to 8 martial artists sitting in a circle near a group transmission arrays. Senior apprentice brother, I heard that the 70 to 80% of the South Sea Demon region was destroyed. What should we do now? Should we continue waiting? Among these martial artists, a 20-some-year-old youth asked the red-clothed martial artist that led them. These people were disciples of a third-grade sect in the South Horizon region. They were situated here specifically to guard the transmission arrays. The South Horizon region was an incomparably broad land with many transmission array transit points. Because of the sky-high cost of construction, several sects would often group together to build the transmission arrays. Then, since they collected fees for their use, they naturally had to send disciples to protect them. However, several years ago the South Sea Demon region had invaded the South Horizon region. The 3 great 4th-grade sects of the South Horizon region were Divine Phoenix Island, Dire Space Sect, and Supreme Mystery Temple. These sects had been slowly annihilated, one at a time. Since these 3rd-grade sects had lost their supporters, they naturally became subordinate sects of the South Sea Demon region. As for the transmission array network in the South Horizon region, these were naturally taken by the South Sea Demon region. It often required multiple people to guard a transmission array transit point. Because there were so many of these transit points, it was impossible for the South Sea Demon region to send guards to every single one. Normally, they would send a single South Sea Demon region disciple to the transmit point and the rest of the staff was filled in by disciples from smaller sects. All of these people, without exception, had a spell placed on them by the South Sea Demon region. If they ever tried to rebel, their fates could be imagined. But now, they heard the news that the South Sea Demon region was razed several times by Lin Ming and was on the verge of being completely extinguished. The Demon region disciples didn't dare to stay in the South Sea and had flocked back to their homelands in the South Horizon region and other places. Since things had reached this point, they had no idea what to do. Don't talk so carelessly. Although the South Sea Demon region has suffered some setbacks, a centipede that's been cut in half can still live on. Even its remains are something that we can't contend with. Moreover, in the South Horizon region, the South Sea Demon region's influence hasn't been affected too greatly. There are still elders here keeping command. If our conversation were to be known by them, then we would undoubtedly die. Yeah, unfortunately, Great Hero Lin has only rampaged around the South Sea area. If he could come to the South Horizon region, then the South Sea Demon region branch here would probably instantly dissolve. Perhaps when that happens, our spells will be undone and we can obtain our freedom. In the circle of martial artists, a yellow-clothed girl whispered in a quiet voice. Sure, don't say that. We still have a demon envoy from the South Sea Demon region at our island. If he heard our words, then consequences would be dire. Moreover, I heard that around 4 months ago, Lin Ming was trapped along with the giant Leviathan in a deep-sea trench 300,000 feet under the sea by Xian Wuji. It's hard to estimate how long Lin Ming can hold out. Once Lin Ming is defeated, Xian Wuji will rejoin the South Sea Demon region and become its rallying point. It won't be difficult for him to reform the South Sea Demon region as most of their disciples are still alive. The red-clothed martial artist sighed as he mulled over the situation in the South Sea. In these past months, Lin Ming had virtually become a figure of indomitable faith of the entire South Horizon region. With just his strength alone, he had captured the giant Leviathan and then killed his way into the South Sea Demon region, razing it to the ground multiple times and killing thousands of South Sea Demon region disciples, which even included the majority of the elders stationed there. Such a series of victories were simply a heaven-gifted miracle. What was even more miraculous was that Lin Ming was only 20 or so years old with a revolving core cultivation. He took advantage of the period when Xian Wuji was in closed-door seclusion to repeatedly ruin the South Sea Demon region. However, Xian Wuji had now left his seclusion and had even broken through to the fourth stage of life destruction. In the face of such a mighty Xian Wuji, could Lin Ming still withstand it? Hearing the red-clothed martial artist's words, the yellow-clothed girl gripped her fists. Nothing will happen to great hero Lin. That's right. I heard before that great hero Lin also came from the 7 profound valleys. Doesn't that mean he is from the same sect as Brother Jiang? The yellow-clothed girl suddenly remembered the rumors, so she asked the red-clothed martial artist this question. That's right. The red-clothed martial artist named Brother Jiang suddenly seemed sad as he heard this question. Lin Ming had truly originated from his 7 profound valleys. Moreover, he had even become the champion of the 7 profound valleys total faction martial meeting. No one had ever imagined that in the near future, Lin Ming would become a top master of the South Horizon region only inferior to Xian Wuji. As he remembered the past, it was like everything had been a dream. The yellow-clothed girl's eyes shined brightly as she heard the red-clothed martial artist's words. Brother Jiang, can you tell me about great hero Lin's adventures in the 7 profound valleys? The red-clothed martial artist shook his head. He ruefully smiled and said, I am only an outer court disciple of the 7 profound valleys. At the total faction martial meeting, I was only able to sit in the audience and watch the fight on stage from a distance. Although Lin Ming and I are from the same sect, the truth is that our paths have never intersected. As the red-clothed martial artist spoke to hear, his complexion suddenly changed. He quickly whispered, Don't say anything. The demon envoy is here. As his voice fell, a black-clothed South Sea Demon region martial artist at the early Xiantian realm appeared in front of them like a ghost. His sharp and cruel eyes swept over the group. He coldly said, Gathering together to spread rumors, Chem? I advise you lot to smarten up. Lin Ming has already been sealed by the Great Elder 300,000 feet deep in a sea trench. Soon, the Great Elder will solve the problem that is Lin Ming. Once the Great Elder reaches the Divine Sea realm, the South Sea Demon region will rise to become a holy land. We will rule over the entire south region of the Sky Spill continent and establish our own divine kingdom in the future. For you lot to become early subjects of our divine kingdom, all of you should feel honored. Yes, Sir Envoy. The red-clothed martial artist ignored the black-clothed martial artist's bragging and secretly relaxed, replying in a respectful tone. The black-clothed martial artist nodded with satisfaction. Just as he was about to speak some more, the transmission array near them suddenly flashed with a blazing light. Millimeter. Some people have arrived. The black-clothed martial artist's heart stirred. For the first several months after the South Sea Demon region was raised by Lin Ming, there were often disciples of the South Sea Demon region come from the South Sea, all of them returning to the South Horizon region branch to seek safety. They feared that if they remain in the South Sea they would be chased and killed by Lin Ming. But these days, ever since Lin Ming was sealed 300,000 feet deep in a sea trench, the transmission array hadn't been used much. At this time, the shining light emitting from the transmission array suddenly brightened to an unbearable degree. A black ray of light shot into the horizon, causing the very earth to tremble. The black-clothed martial artist's complexion immediately changed. Who is brave that they dare to forcefully accelerate the transmission array just to save some time? This will overload the transmission array and could possibly cause permanent damage. Once there is an accident, the losses will be immeasurable. Just which dastardly fellow dares to mess around like this? The black-clothed martial artist seethed with anger. He traced his spatial ring, extracting a long spear as he prepared to capture this arrogant fellow on the spot. However, as the rays of light faded away, there was suddenly a pallid black-clothed middle-aged man standing in the array formation. You overly arrogant bastard, you can. The black-clothed martial artist words were suddenly caught in his throat. For a time, his entire face twisted into something like a strange array formation. GGGG Great Elder, the black-clothed martial artist stuttered. As a disciple of the South Sea Demon region, he naturally knew of Shen Wuji. Although he had never met him personally, he had still seen portraits. Moreover, the aura and unfathomable cultivation of the black-clothed man in front of him proved beyond a doubt that this was Shen Wuji. How would this? Isn't Elder Shen trapping Lin Ming in the deep sea? Why would he come to the South Horizon region branch? Could he have killed Lin Ming already? The black-clothed martial artist's mind raced even as he stood there stock still as if he had been petrified. But, behind the black-clothed martial artist, those several third-grade sect disciples were dumbfounded when they heard the black-clothed martial artist refer to this newcomer as Great Elder. Because of problems in the background and the legacy of the South Sea Demon region, there were several great clans. Each of these great clans had their own sovereign. But there was only a single Great Elder. And that was the #1 master of the South Sea, Shen Wuji. Was this black-clothed martial artist Shen Wuji? Could such a legendary character actually appear right in front of them? It had to be known that they normally couldn't even see a revolving core martial artist, much less this Shen Wuji was a 4th-grade life-destruction powerhouse. To them, he could be called a god. Even if I just look at him I can feel my very soul shivering. It's like I have no choice but to bow my head down before him. He is truly worthy of being called the top master of the South Sea. The red-clothed martial artist thought with rising horror. Just by standing in front of Shen Wuji he could feel a deep pressure pushing down on him. Why? Shen Wuji. It seems as if he's injured. Whether it was the several third-grade sect disciples or the black-clothed martial artist, all of them noticed the wounds covering Shen Wuji. All of his clothes had been torn and he was covered with blood. Without a doubt, Shen Wuji had just emerged from a fierce battle just now. Just who was it? Who had the ability to contend with Shen Wuji to this degree? After Shen Wuji appeared, he first swallowed down a pill. Without further ado, he turned around and slammed out his palm. Bang! The transmission array shattered. The black-clothed martial artist could only watch helplessly as this happened. He was dumbstruck. Just what was going on? Great Elder, you, the black-clothed martial artist trembled as he spoke. Get out of my way! Shen Wuji roared out. The black-clothed martial artist shook and he collapsed just from the sound wave. With a wave of his voluminous sleeves, Shen Wuji shot into the skies. The eruption of energy caused winds to surge out in all directions. The 7 to 8 third-grade sect martial artists were blown away. Those with weaker cultivations felt their blood tumble in their bodies as they suffered minor wounds. Chapter 749, The Death of Shen Wuji. Chapter 749, The Death of Shen Wuji. Can someone tell me just what the F***ck is going on? The black-clothed marshal crawled up from the ground, his mouth full of blood. Shen Wuji's loud shout just now had shocked his organs, damaging them. Luckily, Shen Wuji hadn't used too much true essence, otherwise, the black-clothed martial artist would have been grounded to a pulp. The black-clothed martial artist couldn't understand what was happening. What had happened to Shen Wuji that he became so anxious? Why had he destroyed the transmission array? Was he being chased down by someone? It wasn't just the black-clothed martial artist that thought this. All of the other martial artists present had this thought too. Shen Wuji's entire body had been covered with wounds. Not just that, but he had forcefully revolved the energy of the transmission array to speed it up and had destroyed the transmission array in a panicked haste before soaring away. All of this made it seem as if he was truly being chased down by someone, but how could that even be possible? In the entire South Sea, just who had the strength to chase down Shen Wuji? As everyone just thought of this, the already destroyed transmission array actually began to shine again. This is. The black-clothed martial artist stared with wide eyes. How could someone possibly come out of this transmission array? It was impossible. This transmission array had already been ruined, so how could it possibly be used? If someone was still inside when it was destroyed, they might lose themselves in the chaotic space turbulence, ripped to shreds by the vast space storm. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of thunder rumbled in the air. The winds and clouds stirred as the world seemed to lose its color. In a radius of 10 miles, all of the surrounding heaven and earth origin energy began to rush towards the center, forming a terrifying tornado. A blazing red beam of light shot into the sky, piercing through heavens. The earth trembled, countless cracks appearing like a spider's web. Is this really a transmission? The black-clothed martial artist's eyes went so wide that they nearly popped out of his head. As for the several other third-grade sect martial artists, all of them were completely dumbfounded. This brilliant and beautiful red light reached a crescendo, and a scene that they would never forget in their lives occurred right before them. 100 feet away, the void seemed to fiercely twist together. Then, with a loud thunderclap, half of a red spear appeared in thin air as if it had just torn through the very fabric of space. With this spear, a tear appeared in the world. From this space crack, a blue-clothed youth calmly stepped out. His entire body was wreathed in ghostly flames and sizzling purple electricity. With a red spear in hand, he was like a god of war incarnate. He was. The black-clothed martial artist was completely shocked. Even though the transmission array had been destroyed, he had still forcefully completed the transmission. With absolute power, he held up the space channel by himself, forcefully tearing through space with his spear and stepping out like a gust of wind. Was he even human? Although the black-clothed martial artist was only at the Xiantian realm, he could still be considered to be greatly experienced. He had never heard of someone casually tearing apart space and opening a space channel to cross the endless void. Was this youth a divine sea powerhouse? Not, he was too young, at most he seemed, just over 20. At a mere 20-some years old, to rip apart space, could he be a crown prince from the 4 divine kingdoms? Even a divine kingdom crown prince should not have such strength. The black-clothed martial artist head had become a muddled mess. As for the red-clothed martial artist, his heart was tumbling with great quakes. Although this youth in front of him had slightly changed in appearance and temperament, he could still see familiar shades in that face. He appeared to be Lin Ming. As the blue-clothed youth appeared, he quickly glanced around at the crowd, seeming a bit surprised. But he soon regained his utter calm and no longer bothered with these juniors. Stepping on golden rock shattering the void, he shrunk the space beneath him, flying towards the far horizon at an alarming speed as he chased behind Xian Wuji. The black-clothed martial artist was only able to look helplessly on. Just how many miles had Lin Ming crossed in a single step? It looked no different than if he were teleporting forwards, completely bamboozling anyone that witnessed it. Just what sort of godly movements were that? That was definitely teleportation. Who was that? The yellow-clothed girl's lips shivered. Although that youth didn't look much older than she was, how could he have such strength? He was like a god that descended to earth. He is Lin Ming. The red-clothed martial artist suddenly shouted out, his voice exuberant and filled with respect. Lin Ming. The black-clothed martial artist cried out. From the direction that he flew, he was clearly chasing after Xian Wuji. Had Xian Wuji been reduced to this state because he was being chased after by Lin Ming? It wasn't just the black-clothed martial artist that realized this, but everyone else did too. Rumors said that Lin Ming had been trapped by Xian Wuji 300,000 miles under the sea in a trench for over 4 months. How did the situation suddenly reversed, and Xian Wuji ended up being the one chased by Lin Ming instead? The yellow-clothed girl covered her mouth with her hands. Although she had heard stories about Lin Ming's majesty, seeing was believing. After she witnessed Lin Ming today, she realized that the Lin Ming in her mind was far inferior to the true Lin Ming. Quickly report this to the sect. Do not allow the demon envoy to discover this. Do this as quickly as possible. The red-clothed youth shook his head as if he had awoken from a dream and quickly sent out a true essence sound transmission to everyone. The other martial artists were stunned. If Lin Ming could chase down Xian Wuji, didn't that mean that there wasn't a single existence in the entire South Sea Demon region that could contend with Lin Ming? Didn't this mean that he would win the South Sea War? Victory. The several third-grade sect martial artists were dazed and out of their minds. This was an incomparable distance concept. After the events of the Demon God Imperial Palace, the wartime alliance had suffered defeat after defeat before finally being destroyed. To them, victory had already become a forgotten word. As the several third-grade sect martial artists were thinking to report this news to their sect, the South Sea Demon Region's black-clothed martial artist also felt the same. He had to pass this news to the South Sea Demon Region's branch in the South Horizon region as soon as possible. Like this, before even an incense stick of time passed, several sound-transmitting talismans flared up, the news of this monumental event spreading like a tide. Lin Ming, you. As Xian Wuji saw Lin Ming chasing after him once again, his expression greatly changed. How is this possible? I've already destroyed the transmission array, so how can he chase me here? Xian Wuji could not imagine what Lin Ming had done. This had already surpassed his scope of understanding. Lin Ming remained completely silent. As he held onto his red spear, he pursued after Xian Wuji. With every second he closed in more and more. The power of the blood essence that Xian Wuji had poured into the mystic thunder wings was already slowly exhausting. In this shifting chase, Lin Ming's speed increasingly surpassed Xian Wuji's. 10 miles. 5 miles. 3 miles. He was already in the range of attack. Lin Ming, don't force me. Xian Wuji roared out. But at this moment, Lin Ming had already attacked. With a thrust of his spear, space itself twisted. Blazing heat from the burning star flame erupted. As Lin Ming poured his battle spirit into his spear, it became like a blue rainbow, shooting across the endless sky. Bury the heavens. Bang! Xian Wuji forcefully blocked this attack, but his body shook and a trail of blood dripped down from the sides of his mouth. At this time he had already consumed 50 to 60% of his remaining true essence. He was now fundamentally incapable of fighting Lin Ming anymore. Lin Ming, I have a great number of the Demon Emperor's secrets in my hand. If you kill me, you will never obtain them. The Demon Emperor's secrets? Lin Ming faintly smiled. Xian Wuji, I already said before that everything you've pursued your entire life might be trash in the eyes of others. Although the Demon Emperor's relics might be worthwhile to me, it is still a run-of-the-mill treasure. As for killing you, that temptation is greater than any treasure by far. Now die. Law of annihilation, chain of stars. Lin Ming's spear cut straight down, tearing apart space. All of the surrounding heaven and earth origin energy began to restlessly move. Origin energy condensed into tiny fragments, spinning like a chain of stars. With Xian Wuji at the center, all these fragments shot towards him. If Xian Wuji couldn't dodge these, then his fate was to be pierced by 10,000 arrows. Power of my blood essence, explode. Xian Wuji fiercely bit down on his tongue, spitting out even more blood essence. Now, the only thing he had left to rely on was the power of his blood essence. However, just as he spat this blood essence halfway, his face suddenly twisted. After using his blood essence repeatedly, Xian Wuji had already damaged the fires of his life. In a situation where his life force was incredibly weak, in addition to the long-distance pursuit he had experienced, Xian Wuji had finally suffered a backlash. He spat out a mouthful of blood, his heart source injured. No dash. After his move was stopped midway, Xian Wuji no longer had any strength to resist. With his body at the center, countless concentrated fragments of heaven and earth origin energy exploded. Xian Wuji miserable screamed as his entire body was soaked in blood. He flew backwards like a deflated bag. In that attack just now, Xian Wuji's organs had been damaged in many places and his meridians had been torn to pieces. Lin Ming's eyes filled with a thick killing intent. At this time, he had also used up 40 to 50% of the energy in his body. If Xian Wuji still had extra strength left over, it would have been much more difficult to chase him down and kill him. Bury the heavens. A spear cut out, seeming to split the sky in half. Lin Ming revolved his energy to the limit, stabbing out at the space between Xian Wuji's eyebrows. On the verge of death, Xian Wuji forcefully twisted his body. He managed to save his vital point, but his right arm and shoulder were slashed off by Lin Ming's spear. As his bloody arm spun away, it was suddenly torn to tiny bits by the sharp space fragments before being crushed into nothingness. Although he had escaped this fatal blow, Xian Wuji was now a lamp with no more oil. His death was inevitable. Lin Ming spun around, stepping on golden rock shattering the void. He instantly appeared behind Xian Wuji, his spear thrusting straight into his back. Die. Blood shot out. The red spear ripped apart Xian Wuji's protective true essence and stabbed right into his mortal body. Puff. Xian Wuji felt an icy coldness at the center of his being. As he looked down, he could see a bloody red spear emerging from his chest. As Xian Wuji looked at the blood-stained spear, his eyes turned perfectly round. In that moment, all sounds faded away. With unwillingness filling his very body, he gripped onto that ice-cold spear edge. His face was the color of death and his lips trembled. This spear had not only pierced through Xian Wuji's body but also his hopes and ambitions. Lin Ming turned the spear, and battle spirit-infused true essence shot into Xian Wuji's body like mini-flying knives. In the next moment, Xian Wuji's body burst apart into a mass of ruined meat. Flesh and blood rained onto the forest ground beneath him. Like this, a fierce and ambitious individual of his era had perished in these nameless mountain wilds. It was finally over. Lin Ming let out a long breath. In 5 years, Xian Wuji had gone from an extreme master that he couldn't even look to a miserable man that had become a ghost under the edge of his spear. As for that insufferably arrogant and all-powerful South Sea demon region that had once threatened divine Phoenix Island, they were now nothing more than dust left behind in the passing of history. Today marked the end of the war against the South Sea demon region. As for those remaining forces, they simply weren't worth mentioning at all. Xian Wuji. Lin Ming silently remembered this name. Perhaps 100 years from now this name might be remembered as only an unimportant figure. But to Lin Ming, the owner of this name was a formidable enemy that had engraved an unforgettable impression on his heart. In order to defeat this enemy, Li Ming had suffered countless hardships. As he thought about everything he had experienced these past years, Lin Ming's mind filled with a nostalgic sadness, as if all the vicissitudes of life weighed down on him. After he received his long spear, he then discovered that he was actually at the border of the Sky Fortune Kingdom in the Seven Profound Territory. This proud and ambitious Xian Wuji had actually died in the Sky Fortune Kingdom. This sort of coincidence seemed ironic, as if it were a part of the cycle of samsara itself. There is no longer anyone in the Sky Fortune Kingdom that I am concerned about. In the dimensions of the giant Leviathan, my parents, Yue, and Xingxuan should be worrying about me. As Lin Ming thought this out loud, he flew back to the South Sea. Chapter 750, Returning to the Dimension. Chapter 750, Returning to the Dimension. News of Lin Ming hunting down Xian Wuji rapidly spread throughout the entire South Horizon region and Five Element region as if it had wings. To the sects in these two regions, any unusual news was good news. After living in the terrifying shadow of the South Sea demon region for so many years, all of them wanted to see a glimmer of hope. Before, Lin Ming had captured the giant Leviathan, wounded Shen Yuqie, and raised the South Sea demon region. All of this had been breathtaking, uplifting news, but this time, Lin Ming, alone with his spear, had torn through the void with his strength and chased down Xian Wuji for several 100,000 miles. This news was simply too melodramatic, one couldn't help but suspect whether it was true. And this news hadn't come from a large sect like Storm Valley or the Sunfire sect. Rather, it originated from a very small transmission array transit point. 4 months ago, Lin Ming had been trapped in a deep-sea trench 300,000 miles under the surface by Xian Wuji, on the verge of being captured and killed at any moment. In such a short period of time, how could Lin Ming reverse the situation and be the one to hunt down Xian Wuji instead? Was this even possible? Could this be a smoke screen that the South Sea demon region released, and the truth was that Lin Ming had already been killed by Xian Wuji? Did Xian Wuji release this fake intelligence in order to lure the other sects to jointly attack the South Sea demon branch in the South Horizon region, and then catch all of them together at once? Father, what do you think? In Storm Valley, Zhong Yunjian asked his father this question. In front of Zhong Yunjian was a blue-clothed middle-aged man. This middle-aged man pondered for a moment before saying, "This matter is too strange. It might be a trap that the South Sea demon region has laid down, don't you think?" Zhong Yunjian shook his head, saying, "It's because it's so bizarre that I think it's true. If this news is really fake, then I can only say that Xian Wuji's mental state has regressed. Why would he harm his own prestige and fabricate such lies? Even if this news came out, would it have much effect as a trap? The blue-clothed middle-aged man nodded and said, "No matter what happened, we'll just have to wait and see. Paper can't wrap fire, the truth will come to light sooner or later. Of course, I certainly hope that this news is true." Xian Wuji had died in a desolate mountain range on the border of the Sky Fortune Kingdom. In the vast South Horizon region, this was a tiny, minuscule piece of land not worth mentioning, so nobody even bothered to look there. Then, Lin Ming had returned to the South Sea. Under the command of Demon Shine, the giant Leviathan also emerged from the deep sea. The giant Leviathan that was several dozen miles long, that had easily rolled over Yin-Yang Profound Palace with its seemingly unstoppable power, now had countless scars all over its lengthy body. Several hundred of the giant Leviathan's tentacles had been torn off and its ears were shattered. The most serious wound was a pectoral fin with a mile-wide wound, nearly causing the entire fin to be ripped off. To have such terrifying wounds and still manage to submerge 300,000 feet deep in a sea trench for over 4 months' time, only the giant Leviathan with its amazing life force could have withstood that. These wounds will probably need at least half a year to recover. Lin Ming thought out loud. To such a massive being like the giant Leviathan, it was simply impossible and also useless to feed it pills. He could only allow it to eat and rest in the deep sea, naturally restoring itself. Fortunately, the South Sea was incomparably broad and there were innumerable deep-sea vicious beasts. There were more than enough to satiate the giant Leviathan's terrifying appetite. If it could continuously hunt some high-level deep-sea beasts, then this would greatly increase the speed at which the giant Leviathan regenerated. Lin Ming really needed the giant Leviathan now. With the giant Leviathan, his loved ones had the best sanctuary possible and he had one less worry to concern himself with. At this time, within the dimension of the giant Leviathan were several red-dressed beauties surrounding a red pug. This red pug was only a foot long and its tail was short and thick, like the end of a finger. It had short curly red hair and its small pair of doggy eyes were jet black and shaped like round beads. This red-haired pug was Demon Shine. Besides Lin Ming, no one had known that Demon Shine existed. However, Demon Shine had never been someone who could endure loneliness for too long. With Lin Ming having departed to the king-level smelting trial for an unknown number of months, Demon Shine's main soul had remained in the giant Leviathan's dimension. In its boredom, the pug would often take a stroll around the grounds and soon familiarized himself with Lin Ming's friends and family. "Little Red, didn't you say that Brother Lin would return soon? How come I haven't seen him yet?" In front of the pug, there was an 18 or 19-year-old girl asking Demon Shine in a somewhat concerned tone. She wore a bright yellow dress and her appearance was delicate and beautiful. This young woman was Qin Xingxuan. "Little Red, your mom," Demon Shine cursed back in an extremely depressed manner. Because he was so small and his body was covered in red fur, this damned little maid had suddenly started calling him Little Red after a while. This eminently inappropriate name had quickly caught on and everyone began referring to him as such. In response, the pug had made several serious declarations that he should be called Holy Lord Demon Shine, and also began hyping up and boasting about his glorious past deeds when he was an all-powerful being in the past. However, everyone simply ignored him. Demon Shine's nickname of Little Red had caused tremendous damage to his own dignified image. However, the young women he yelled at couldn't match up his current image with his past deeds. Instead, they thought that his angry appearance when he flew into a range and his short red fur was standing on end was actually very funny, so more and more people began calling him Little Red. "Little Red, please don't lay around, all of us are growing nervous. When will Brother Lin come back? Where did he go off to? What has he been doing for these past 4 months? I already repeated myself 10,000 times. You must not call me Little Red, you must call me Holy Lord Demon Shine." Demon Shine puffed out his chest. "When this saint roamed through the endless void, your grandfather's 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 grandfather still hadn't been born. Forget it. Consider this done. This saint is too lazy to bother lowering myself to the same level as you lesser mortals. That young boy Lin Ming should be returning very soon. As for these past 4 months, he's gone somewhere. Hey, But even if I try to tell you, it's far too difficult for you lot to comprehend. But if he comes back now, isn't Xian Wuji still outside? Ha ha ha. Demon Shine barked out 3 loud laughs, a sense of superiority immediately rising in his voice. Xian Wuji isn't even worth a fart. When this saint was at his most peak and glorious state, small unimportant characters like Xian Wuji were nothing but ants. This saint wouldn't even need to look at him to pinch him to death with my claw. As for that brat Lin Ming, although the difference from his current state to the past me is like the heavens and earth, he should still be able to deal with that old man Xian Wuji. Demon Shine, is what you said true? Mu Qianyu suddenly stood up, her haunting phoenix eyes staring at Demon Shine. Although Demon Shine tended to boast, Mu Qianyu could feel that this pug was unusual indeed. Demon Shine truly did have a powerful soul force and was able to control the giant Leviathan. It was possible that what he said was true. If Lin Ming really could defeat Xian Wuji, no, Lin Ming didn't need to defeat him. As long as Lin Ming could contend with him, then they could rebuild Divine Phoenix Island and the South Sea War would also end. Of course. When has this saint ever lied to anyone? If everything goes as expected, then that boy should return in another quarter hour or less. Quarter hour. Little Red, are you telling the truth? Qin Xingxuan's eyes lit up. She had just spoken when the entire dimension trembled and she felt her heart suddenly soar. Someone had come. Was it Lin Ming? Hey, he's faster than I thought. Demon Shine rubbed his doggy chin as he spoke. At this time, a blue-clothed youth with jet-black hair appeared in the dimension, his face full of smiles. Lin Ming, brother Lin. Qin Xingxuan and Mu Qianyu were filled with endless surprise and joy. Xian Wuji had been avidly eyeing the giant Leviathan from the outside and they suffered a harrowing pressure the entire time. As for Lin Ming, they didn't even know where he was. When they asked Demon Shine, he had only said that Lin Ming was training outside. They had nearly worried themselves to death. Now that they saw Lin Ming, they were so happy that they began crying. If it were only Qin Xingxuan or Mu Qianyu alone, then they would have already rushed into Lin Ming's embrace. However, now that both of them were here together, they were too embarrassed to do so. How are my parents? Lin Ming asked. Uncle and auntie are both doing very well. As for that little pigeon Xiaoge, she is also doing great. Qin Xingxuan responded. For this past half year, Lin Fu and Lin Mu had no idea what was happening outside. Rather, they were living a carefree and happy life within. When Lin Ming had returned, he had also brought back a massive amount of miracle medicines that could strengthen and increase the life of mortals. Now, after taking these medicines, Lin Fu and Lin Mu, who had worked hard jobs their entire lives, both looked several years younger, as if they were in the prime of their life. And as for Lin Ming's little sister Lin Xiaoge, although she was only a 3 or 4-year-old child now, she had already started to cleanse and temper her body with all sorts of precious liquids. In the future, she certainly wouldn't be lacking in talent for martial arts. Junior apprentice brother Lin, what about Xian Wuji? Mu Qianyu asked. As she saw that Lin Ming was ultimately safe, she finally felt relieved in her heart. She also wanted to confirm whether or not Lin Ming now had the ability to fight with Xian Wuji on even grounds. The destruction of Divine Phoenix Island had always been a constant pain in her heart. For every day that she couldn't rebuild her home and sect, she would never have peace of mind. Xian Wuji has already been slain by me. With just these few words, Mu Qianyu was stunned and even Qin Xingxuan was dumbfounded. Although Demon Shine had said Lin Ming would just barely be able to defeat Xian Wuji, they never imagined that Lin Ming would actually be able to kill him. That man Xian Wuji, who had started the South Sea War, who had exterminated Divine Phoenix Island, the Dire Space Sect, and Supreme Mystery Temple, and was worthy of being called the top master of the South Sea, had actually died. Brother Lin, is that really true? Millimeter, he died at the border of Sky Fortune Kingdom. I've brought his weapon and spatial ring with me. As Lin Ming spoke, he took out a bronze ring from a pocket in his robes. Mu Qianyu took the ring and swept through it with her perception, immediately freezing. Inside the ring was Xian Wuji's weapon, his elder command seal, and even the jade slip containing the ancient devil arts. Without a doubt, this was Xian Wuji's spatial ring. As Mu Qianyu held this ring in a daze, her eyes began blurring. Xian Wuji had died. They had won the South Sea War. Tears falling down her cheeks, Mu Qianyu couldn't help but hug Lin Ming as she sobbed. Her voice was completely choked with emotion as she said, thank you, Lin Ming. Between us, there is no need for any thanks. Lin Ming gently wiped away Mu Qianyu's tears. After 10 breaths of time, Mu Qianyu finally recovered herself and happily said, I must go and tell Master. They feared that you wouldn't return, so they went into closed-door seclusion to prepare for the final battle. They wouldn't expect that we can begin rebuilding Divine Phoenix Island in just a few more days. Although Divine Phoenix Island had been destroyed, the elites of the sect still lived, and the Divine Phoenix mystic realm which served as the foundation of the sect was still in perfect condition. With Lin Ming's current fame and power, rebuilding Divine Phoenix Island would be easy. And at this time, a well-dressed middle-aged couple in their 30s came walking over. They were Lin Ming's parents. Father, Mother, Lin Ming said with great happiness. Seeing that his parents looked much younger and healthier, and that Xingxuan and Yue were also safe, Lin Ming's heart was filled with satisfaction and vindication. He didn't regret in the least that he had ever chosen to step down the road of martial arts. Minga, you've finally come out of seclusion. As Lin Mu saw Lin Ming, a cheerful and pleased expression crossed her face. She had no idea what events had occurred these past months. She only thought that Lin Ming had gone into closed-door seclusion in one of the dimensions. Now that she saw her son finally coming out, she was naturally in a good mood. But her smile didn't last much longer. As she saw Lin Ming standing side by side with Qin Xingxuan and Mu Qianyu, she actually began to be worried. Lin Ming's marriage had always been one of her life's greatest concerns. Lin Ming was now 21 years old. It was past time for him to marry. Chapter 751, Collapse of the South Sea Demon Region. Chapter 751, Collapse of the South Sea Demon Region. Since Xian Wuji died, half a month had peacefully passed. In this half-month, many matters had occurred. The news of Lin Ming chasing down Xian Wuji over a space of several 100,000 miles became increasingly intense. At first, not many people believed this. However, with the passage of time, all signs began to point to this news most likely being true. In particular, after 10 days, the giant Leviathan once again appeared over the skies of Divine Phoenix Island. And in Divine Phoenix Island, the original disciples of that land had begun to reconstruct their sect on a massively grand scale. After seeing Divine Phoenix Island build new grand temples and plazas and all sorts of complexes, the South Sea Demon region actually didn't interfere. Instead, they retreated from the South Horizon region and hid away. And then, just 3 days later, another matter occurred that caused all the great sects to be completely bewildered. That was, the South Sea Demon Region branch in the South Horizon region had been disbanded. The Demon Region disciples all went their separate ways. Some joined small sects, some concealed their identities, some went to mortal kingdoms, and some went off on into the distant lands. Overnight, the last stronghold of the South Sea Demon Region had quietly disintegrated. Now, the South Sea Demon Region that had survived in name only had completely crumbled away. The South Sea Demon region that had a legacy of over 4,000 years had disappeared like this. The sects of the South Horizon region and Five Element region couldn't believe this. The South Sea Demon region had once been a Holy Land level sect. From the time when the Silent Demon Emperor city had been destroyed 3,000 years ago until now, that mysterious and powerful South Sea Demon region that had dominated the South Sea had now vanished. It was like everything they knew had been an illusion. It was no different from waking up from a dream. After several days, masters of the Five Element region finally reached Divine Phoenix Island. There, they obtained news that left them shell-shocked. Xian Wuji is dead, Lin Ming killed him. In front of important figures from the Five Element region, Mu Bingyun recited this to them in a very calm tone. What did you just say? The Sunfire sect sovereign stood up on the spot, his entire mind in utter chaos. For a long time he didn't respond to Mu Bingyun's shocking words. Xian Wuji has died, therefore the South Sea War has ended. Mu Bingyun repeated without expression. Although her voice was calm and light, the truth was that her heart was not composed at all. She too was incomparably flabbergasted. Even though she knew that Lin Ming had a heaven-defying talent, she still didn't dare to believe that it was real. Lin Ming killed Shen Wuji? Heavens! He is only 21 years old. The rumors that had reached deafening proportions said that Lin Ming had chased down Shen Wuji over a distance of several 100,000 miles. Many people couldn't believe this to begin with, and now Mu Bingyun had spoken even more outrageous news. Shen Wuji had actually been killed by Lin Ming. Since this was confirmed by Mu Bingyun, and in addition to everything that had occurred recently, this was most likely true. A 21-year-old revolving core youth had killed a fourth-stage life destruction master. Then how monstrous would he be once he reached life destruction? Or the divine sea? The many people present couldn't help but wonder this terrifying question. Looking through the entire Sky Spill continent's history, and setting aside that blank period from 100,000 years ago and before, a time had never been recorded when a late revolving core youth had killed a fourth-stage life destruction martial artist. When Emperor Sokya had comprehended 7 kinds of martial intents and fused them all together underneath a body tree, his martial path had broken through the void, and he ascended into the heavens. Since then, he had been known as the Sky Spill continent's #1 genius. But even when Emperor Sokya was at Lin Ming's age, he absolutely couldn't achieve such a degree of strength. Shen Wuji was the top master of the South Sea. Since Lin Ming killed Shen Wuji, he is now the top master of the South Sea instead. The great Zen temple's presiding abbot and the South Sea's Nanyun Wang were weaker than Shen Wuji. Now, Lin Ming's status is even higher than theirs. Even if you consider the formidable powers backing them, Lin Ming can still be treated equal to a holy abbot from the Great Zen Temple. The entire Great Zen Temple had a total of 3 great abbots. The Great Zen Temple had a very deep and formidable strength, and they had dominated the entire Great Zen region for thousands of years now. They were a 5th-grade sect truly worthy of that reputation. Whether it was power or their inheritance, they were stronger than the South Sea Demon region in all aspects. No matter which abbot it was from the Great Zen Temple, they were an existence that the sovereigns of the 5-element region's 7 sects all had to respectfully bow to. But now, Lin Ming's status had actually far surpassed the 3 great abbot. At this time, let alone calling Lin Ming a boy, they didn't even have the qualifications or gall to address Lin Ming by his full name. To be on the same footing with an abbot from the Great Zen Temple, being the top master of the South Sea probably doesn't mean much to Lin Ming. In the future, he will definitely become the #1 powerhouse of the entire Sky Spill continent. As several elders were discussing this, at a corner of the meeting table, Zhong Yunjian opened his mouth several times, wanting to speak, but was unable to force out any words due to the rumbling emotions in his heart. He wasn't able to calm himself down. Spoken words could no longer describe the gap between him and Lin Ming. Is there anything else? If there is no other matter to discuss, then I shall not accompany you. Since Divine Phoenix Island is being rebuilt right now, I have many matters to attend to. Mu Bingyun's words seemed to awaken everyone from their dazed state. In truth, everyone wanted to meet Lin Ming and pay their respects, in particular the Sunfire Princess, Zhong Yunjian, Bai Aoxuan, and several other young disciples that had known of Lin Ming from long ago. However, no one dared to open their mouth and ask such a brazen question that could be considered as pestering. Like this, the envoys from the 5-element region left the South Horizon region. As they left, news of Lin Ming killing Shen Wuji spread like a tide. The remaining forces of the Dire Space Sect, Supreme Mystery Temple, and all the 3rd-grade and 2nd-grade sects of the South Horizon region were discussing this shocking news with vivid excitement. Especially the disciples of the 7 profound valleys, they had been stirred into a frenzy. As long as Lin Ming didn't perish in the future, he would eventually reach the Divine Sea Realm and become a true Emperor-level powerhouse. He would be considered a legendary existence within the Sky Spill continent, of which there was only just more than 100. Moreover, Lin Ming would not be some ordinary Emperor-level powerhouse. In the future, they could brag to their descendants that their grandfather had once been in the same sect as an Emperor-level powerhouse. Lin Ming had suddenly become the idol, goal, and dream of countless young disciples everywhere, and the object of admiration and love of innumerable young girls. Nearly all of them had been converted to Lin maniacs. Lin Ming had become the top master of the South Sea, but these young disciples couldn't even reach the Xiantian realm. Even though they knew perfectly well that they could never reach the same heights as Lin Ming, all of them struggled their hardest to reduce the gap between them as much as possible, lest they regret it in the future. 10 days later, in the jungles of the southern wilderness, within a small tribe just shy of 100,000 people. It's wonderful, wonderful. There are truly living gods. A middle-aged man wearing the strange clothes of the southern wilderness was holding a crying baby as he knelt on the floor and began kowtowing. And, in front of this middle-aged man was a young black-clothed sorceress wearing a black veil. She had wide and charming eyes, curved like a crescent moon. Although her face was blocked by black gauze, one could still make out slender eyebrows that tapered out. She was obviously a peerless beauty. The sorceress was clearing up some medical tools. As she faintly glanced at the middle-aged man kowtowing before her, she expressionlessly said, "I will give you some medicine. Mix it with lukewarm water and divide it into 7 portions and serve it for 7 days." With that, the sorceress waved her hands. With a sudden cool breeze, the middle-aged man was gently blown out of her tent. "Gods, it is the gods!" The middle-aged man cried out in happiness. "The sorcerer has appeared. He has sent a young witch to save us." The middle-aged man hugged the baby tightly in his arms, walking back towards his home even as he knelt down every few steps to kowtow towards the sorceress' tent. But in the tent, the sorceress remained silent, displaying no emotion at all. And at this moment, an old voice suddenly sounded from outside the tent. "Do you plan on continuing like this? Is there any meaning in saving the lives of a few mortals?" The sorceress calmly lifted her veil, revealing a beautiful face. She was the South Sea Demon region's western faction sovereign, Xian Yuqie. Xian Yuqie gently shook her head. "There is no meaning." "Then why are you still wasting your time here?" Xian Yuqie shook her head once again. "From the moment I was born, all that I was, everything I did, all of that was for the Xian clan and the South Sea Demon region. Now that the South Sea Demon region is exterminated, the Xian clan has also dissolved. What meaning was there in anything I ever did?" As Xian Yuqie retorted, the old man was dumbfounded. Indeed, there had been no meaning at all. Xian Yuqie faintly sighed, saying, "Now that Shen Wuji has died, from the original 18 elders of the South Sea Demon region, all that is left over is you and me. As for those sects that we destroyed, all of them wish for us to die. Perhaps in less than 10 days, the remnants of the Dire Space Sect and Supreme Mystery Temple will gather their remaining forces to chase down the last of the South Sea Demon region disciples. That includes you, and that includes me. In 1,000 years of life, spring and fall have all become a dream. In this vast and endless universe, is there any significance to anything we do? Since the world will not accommodate me, then I shall walk alone, seeking only harmony and peace in my heart, creating my own pure lands of bliss." As Xian Yuqie spoke to her, she stood up and let her veil fall back down. In this South Sea catastrophe, the South Sea Demon region had been destroyed, but she had lived. Now, her entire mentality towards life had changed. You want to find peace in your heart, creating your own pure lands. Do you think the mortals you save in the second half of your life are enough to atone for the countless sins you committed in the first half? Forget it. Everyone has their own choices to make. Anything I say will no longer matter. I plan on searching for some remote mountain and closing up in cultivation. Although I know it is impossible for me to reach the divine sea, I still hope that I can cross several more stages of life destruction. If I die during my attempts, then I can only say that my fate has reached its end. When I was young, I already resolved in my heart that I would explore the road of martial arts until I reached its end. If I die in the throes of crossing life destruction, then that is still a worthy death for my final act. Xian Yuqie, after we bid our farewells today, our fated paths will likely never cross again. I wish you good luck." As the old man spoke, he floated away, leaving a desolate tent flapping in the wind. Xian Yuqie didn't turn around. She only quietly said, "Farewell and goodbye. I wish you good luck." Time marched on. In the blink of an eye, another 2 months passed. The main buildings of Divine Phoenix Island had been rebuilt already, and many of the great training arrays were also in the process of repair. A massive number of disciples had returned to live on the island. But at this time, Lin Ming was faced with a problem that he had no choice but to face. That was marriage. For an entire 2 months, Lin Mu had constantly badgered and spoken about this issue. Although she wasn't too clear just what Lin Ming's boundary and attainments were, she did understand one thing, and that was that Lin Ming was destined to soar into higher realms, leaving everyone else further and further behind. It would be increasingly rare for her to see Lin Ming. And when Lin Ming left, it might not even be strange for him to disappear for 10 years at a time. In this case, how could Lin Mu not desire a grandchild? This was a reasonable argument. In fact, because Lin Ming had stepped onto the road of martial arts and doomed himself to constant loneliness, he felt extremely guilty towards his parents. Now facing the justified request of his mother, he naturally couldn't reject her. Moreover, over the years, it wasn't like Lin Ming was a blockhead with no emotions or urges. He too had very sincere feelings of genuine affection. He also hoped for this. Chapter 752, Lin Ming's Wedding, the Divine Kingdom Prince. Chapter 752, Lin Ming's Wedding, the Divine Kingdom Prince. South Horizon Region, Scarlet Peak City. Scarlet Peak City was a relatively large city in the South Horizon region. This was because it was where the headquarters of a top third-grade sect were located. Just a few years ago, because of the invasion of the South Sea Demon region, Scarlet Peak City had gone into decline with many of the martial artists relocating elsewhere. However, with the death of Shen Wuji, Scarlet Peak City was once again booming with the hustle and bustle of vibrant crowds. At this time, in a high-class restaurant in Scarlet Peak City, there were several martial artists sitting together and talking. I heard that the young emperor of Divine Phoenix Island will have his great marriage in another month. The entire Divine Phoenix Island is now lively with countless guests from all around. Many important characters of the South Horizon region and Five Element region will be attending. Even the sovereign of an ordinary third-grade sect doesn't have the qualifications to go into the main hall, they can only enter the side halls. Phew, to think even a third-grade sect sovereign can only go to a side hall. A martial artist commented with some emotion as he drank. All of them came from the third-grade Scarlet Peak sect. It was rare for them to even see a sovereign-level character. To them, that was already a very high existence. Who did you say was getting married just now? As the several martial artists spoke, a lazy voice suddenly drawled out. The several people followed the voice and saw that in a corner of the restaurant, there was a young man wearing a yellow Kirin robe, a purple gold crown on his head. The young man was fiddling with a wine glass, and beside him were 3 beautiful women accompanying him, one of them a young nun. As the group saw this, the reaction of a common man would have been to become jealous and upset, cursing at this man in his heart that he would be such a lucky pig. And these martial artists were no exception. The leading Scarlet Peak sect disciple couldn't tolerate this any further and shouted out, "Divine Phoenix Island's young Emperor Lin Ming's wedding. It will happen in just a month." After Lin Ming killed Shen Wuji, he had become the shining star of the South Horizon region. No one dared to call Lin Ming by his full name any longer. From the start, they had referred to Lin Ming as the Holy Son of Divine Phoenix Island, Great Hero Lin, and so forth. Later, the name of young Emperor Lin Ming had randomly caught on and this name had spread out. In their opinion, Lin Ming would inevitably become a peerless emperor in the future. Referring to him as young emperor now was also an appropriate matter. I see, so it really is him. The Kirin-robed youth was the Divine Kingdom Prince, Li Yifeng. When he had arrived at the Great Zen region, he had also heard of Lin Ming's name. Now, accompanied by his bevy of beauties, he leisurely made his way to the South Horizon region where he learned of Lin Ming's great wedding. Young Emperor? This Lin Ming actually dares to refer to himself as young Emperor? A young maid dressed up as a beautiful noble girl didn't take this very well. Not even my young master dares to take this sort of name. Yet this Lin Ming only comes from a small 4th-grade sect and he dares to call himself young emperor? That is far too arrogant. Arrogant? The Scarlet Peak sect disciple stared with wide eyes, as if he had heard wrong. What sort of small 4th-grade sect? It was like these people looked down on all fourth-grade sects in general. Humph, what would you know? Young Emperor is not a title that Lin Ming calls himself, but is what all the martial artists of the South Horizon region have recognized him as. Young Emperor Lin is so young, and yet he managed to defeat Xian Wuji. His talent far surpasses anyone from the present or from ancient times. It is inevitable that he will become a peerless emperor, so what is so wrong with calling him Young Emperor now? The young maid curled her lips, apparently not convinced. Who cares about who you South Horizon region martial artists have recognized? Over 90% of the emperor-level powerhouses are concentrated in the 4 divine kingdoms in the center of the mainland. Your South Horizon region is only a very ordinary region in the Sky Spill continent. In these past several thousand years, has an emperor-level powerhouse ever been born from here? The young maid's question left the Scarlet Peak sect disciples speechless. It was indeed true that there hadn't been an emperor-level powerhouse born from the South Horizon region in a very long time. In fact, even the Netherworld Great Emperor from 300 years ago was not someone from the South Horizon region but had come from somewhere else instead. This was not because the South Horizon region was inadequate, but because it was hard to find a single emperor-level powerhouse in the majority of the Sky Spill continent's ordinary regions. Even the Great Zen region was in a similar state. There were many emperor-level talents but very few emperor-level powerhouses. This was because an extraordinary young elite only had to come across a lucky chance and, coupled with their own astonishing talent, this was enough for them to join the ranks of emperor-level talents. But after that, there was still an extremely long road to cover before becoming a peerless emperor. It was possible that one wouldn't cross any more great lucky chances on this road, and these talents would easily exhaust their potential, finally stopping in life destruction. Furthermore, many geniuses perished along the way. To cross the stages of life destruction was to risk your life every time. For a human to reach the divine sea, they would have to overcome countless difficulties and make innumerable gambles with their lives. This was still the South Horizon region after all. After hearing the young maid's words, many martial artists refused to listen further. They all stood up together and said, "You dare to bully my South Horizon region?" For a time, the young maid had become the target of everyone. As Li Yifeng saw this, he laughed out loud and said, "Everyone, please do not take offense. This young maid is just a silly girl and was speaking some nonsense just now. Please don't be too agitated, Chem." As Li Yifeng spoke in a conciliatory tone, the standing martial artists didn't want to cause a stir because of a little girl and they immediately sat back down. The young maid had a very morose expression. She said with a true essence sound transmission, "Young master, why do you apologize to these stupid fellows? You can beat them all up with just a finger." One of Li Yifeng's eyebrow curved up. What meaning is there in bullying these common mortals? Speaking of this Lin Ming's big wedding, it should be rather interesting. Let's go and have some fun. 1 month later, Divine Phoenix Island. After Xian Wuji died, Divine Phoenix Island finished rebuilding in just 3 months. And then, Lin Ming's wedding soon followed. Nearly all the life destruction level powerhouses from the southern point of the Sky Spill continent had received invitations to Divine Phoenix Island. This great wedding was single-handedly managed by Mu Yu Huang. The marriage of a Divine Phoenix Island saintess was a major event to begin with. And added with the fact that Lin Ming was the top master of the South Sea, it had become even more extravagant. To be the top master of the South Sea at such a young age, his future prospects were endless. Such a grand event naturally needed to be handled well and with the utmost care. For several days, the skies above the entire Divine Phoenix Island were covered by multi-hued rays of light like a kaleidoscope of colors. Everywhere one looked, there were shimmering clouds of iridescent light. Occasionally, a flaming vermilion bird or frost-blue luan would fly back and forth between the clouds, as if this island were a true immortal paradise. On the main island, all sorts of immortal grasses and trees bloomed at the same time under the driving force of an array formation. For a time, the entire Divine Phoenix Island was filled with the vibrantly aromatic and sensual scents of the wild, fragrant scents floating in all directions. Among the scintillating clouds, grandiose palaces and temples of jade thrust into the heavens as if it were a scene from a dream. With Lin Ming's fame in the South Sea, nearly every life destruction level martial artist invited came. Below life destruction, countless revolving core martial artists had already arrived early at Divine Phoenix Island. As for the third-grade sects and above, even if their sovereign didn't come, there would at least be a vice-sovereign present. And below that, there were even many unremarkable Xiantian martial artists that arrived. There were even some martial artists that weren't in a sect. These people didn't have an invitation, but had come anyway to experience such a grand celebration in the South Horizon region that could only be seen once every several thousand years. And several thousand years wasn't an exaggeration. With Lin Ming's current limelight, only the Netherworld Great Emperor of 3,000 years past could compete with him in fame. In this situation, in just 3 short days, nearly 10,000 martial artists had arrived at Divine Phoenix Island and more were coming every minute. For those martial artists that weren't invited, Divine Phoenix Island didn't turn anyone away. In order to hold a massive celebration for Lin Ming, Mu Yu Huang had several reception halls built in the surrounding miles around where the ceremony would take place. For this great wedding ceremony, Divine Phoenix Island had spared absolutely no effort. Dire Space Sect Elder, Lian Kai-Hu. Storm Valley Vice Valley Master, Zhon Yuntian. Sunfire Sect Direct Disciple, Hu Ruyan. Nanyun Wang. The Master of Ceremonies announced the names of arriving guests in order. As Nanyun Wang's name was announced, Lin Ming's mind stirred. He looked around to see a middle-aged man in a 9-clawed dragon robe and wearing a purple gold jade belt. He walked forwards, laughing, with a beauty on each of his arms. When Nanyun Wang was entering the Demon God Imperial Palace, he also had a similar appearance where he was surrounded by beautiful women. Nanyun Wang was a martial artist who followed the demonic path to begin with. It was rumored he had a harem of 3,000 beauties, all of them as pretty and exquisite as flowers with a high martial talent. If any one of these women were placed in a small country, then they would definitely be a proud daughter of heaven in their lands. Nanyun Wang. Lin Ming cupped his fists together in greeting. Haha, Lin Ming, if I didn't see you with my own eyes then I still wouldn't be able to believe that it's been less than 3 years since we ventured into the Demon God Imperial Palace. Originally, I thought you were just a common junior, but in the blink of an eye you've turned around and actually became the top master of the South Sea. That is truly incredible. Now that things had come to this, Nanyun Wang naturally wouldn't bother with the matter where he was played around with by Lin Ming in the Demon God Imperial Palace. In just 3 years, Lin Ming's cultivation had risen by 2 large boundaries. This sort of matter could be said to be unprecedented ever since ancient times. As all of these high-level characters arrived, all of them also brought along wedding gifts. There were all sorts of top-grade true essence stones, heavenly materials, treasures, and many other valuables. Mu Yu Huang met every guest one at a time. Seeing Divine Phoenix Island enjoying such a flourishing state, her heart was filled with emotion. Great Zen Temple's 3rd abbot, Grandmaster Konghe. After Nanyun Wang, another esteemed guest arrived. Great Zen Temple had a total of 3 abbots. Abbot Whitebrow was only one of them. For Lin Ming's grand wedding, Abbot Whitebrow didn't come but Abbot Konghe did. He was similarly at the 3rd stage of life destruction. Grandmaster Konghe. Towards this sort of venerable monk, Lin Ming politely bowed. Thinking about his trip into the Demon God Imperial Palace, he still had to thank Abbot Whitebrow for protecting Divine Phoenix Island. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to depend on Mu Fengxian alone to contend with the South Sea Demon region. Benefactor Lin is so young yet has reached the late revolving core realm. Moreover, your strength is above even a 4th stage life destruction master's. In the future, your accomplishments will be immeasurable. Grandmaster Konghe held his hands together and recited some Buddhist blessings. Grandmaster's praise is too kind. Please come this way. I've had a set of vegetarian dishes especially prepared for Grandmaster and other eminent monks. Supreme Mystery Temple Master, Guru Guangshong, Golden Bell Mountain Sovereign, Golden Sword Sage, Divine Kingdom Prince, Li Ifeng. At the wedding banquet, the Master of Ceremonies announced visiting guests based on the identity they wrote down. At this time, there shouldn't be someone bored enough to pretend to be someone else. When the Master of Ceremonies read the title of Divine Kingdom Prince, He almost stumbled over his words, thinking that he had read it wrong. Was this Divine Kingdom prince real or fake? Everyone's eyes turned as the Master of Ceremonies introduced this character. They only saw that at the entrance of the main hall, there was a young man in a purple robe walking in, playing with a folding fan as a young maid and a young nun followed on both sides of him. Divine Kingdom Prince. Of the 4 Divine Kingdoms, Lin Ming narrowed his eyes. This Li Yifeng's cultivation should be at the late revolving core realm, the same as him. From his appearance, he should be around 30 years old, just a bit older than Duan Mukun. The 4 great divine kingdoms had crown princes and princes. The rank of prince was somewhat lower than crown prince, but they were still dragons amongst humans. If one didn't have talent, then it was simply impossible for them to enjoy the title of prince. Chapter 753, The Mysterious Girl. Chapter 753, The Mysterious Girl. He is a divine kingdom prince. The eyes of nearly all martial artists present locked onto Li Yifeng. The 4 divine kingdoms were the highest level of existing powers within the Sky Spill continent. Compared to the 4 divine kingdoms, other regions were like small mountain villages. For instance, take the Great Zen region. Within the Great Zen region, a high-level life-destruction martial artist would be the top master. But in the 4 divine kingdoms, a divine sea supreme elder was a top master. High-level life-destruction martial artists were relatively common. Compared to the other regions, the 4 divine kingdoms were an entire boundary stronger. Originally, when rumors spread that a crown prince from the divine kingdoms had come to the South Horizon region, Yin-Yang Profound Palace's Xing Can had immediately gone out to visit him with her son. From this, one could see the difference in status. Thus, even though this Li Yifeng was not a divine kingdom crown prince and only a prince, that was already amazing enough. Lin Ming couldn't determine Li Yifeng's exact strength, but he could approximate it. His cultivation was at the peak of the late revolving core period and he was already making great progress towards life destruction. His cultivation was around half a minor boundary higher than Lin Ming's and his foundation was also extremely solid. He should have the power to contend with a life destruction master. As for what the limit of his strength was, Lin Ming couldn't say. For such a character to call himself a divine kingdom prince, Lin Ming didn't suspect this at all. Of course, after experiencing the realm of the gods' ancient Phoenix clan, Lin Ming didn't feel anything particularly special about this divine kingdom prince at all. As Li Yifeng approached, he cupped his fists together in greetings and said, "I didn't think that there would be a prince from one of the 4 divine kingdoms attending my wedding. It is truly a great honor. Haha, I just happened to be playing around in the South Horizon region and I heard that Brother Lin here already became the top master of the South Sea at such a young age, so I became a bit curious. In my life, I love to make friends with the heroes of the world the most. I came without invitation, so if there's any way in which I was disrespectful, I humbly request Brother Lin to forgive me. Brother Li is too polite. Since a divine kingdom prince comes to visit, please make yourself welcome in my home." Lin Ming and Li Yifeng paid compliments to each other. But at Li Yifeng's side, the young maid actually pouted, quietly probing Lin Ming's revolving core in his dantian. Rashly investigating others' dantian was an extremely rude form of behavior. Lin Ming's composure didn't change, he only shielded himself from her perception as he continued to greet his guests. But because that young girl couldn't find out much, she still didn't give up and decided to investigate Lin Ming's meridians. Finally, Lin Ming turned a tad unhappy. He silently released the Azura force field so that it only bloomed within him without leaking outside in the least. Thus, no one could sense a difference in Lin Ming's aura. And at this time, the young maid who was probing Lin Ming's body suddenly shook. Her face turned white as she took several steps back, the blood tumbling in her body. "Chinga, you've been up to nonsense again and now you've suffered a loss. I already said that Lin Ming was able to kill Xian Wuji at such a young age and become the top master of the South Sea, so he must be accomplished. How could you possibly be his match? If I'm not wrong, what he did just now was use a kind of force field. This is an extremely rare ability which even I don't have." Li Yifeng was secretly surprised. This move that Lin Ming so casually exposed was actually such a unique ability. The young maid called Chinga curled her lips, not too convinced. What's so special about a force field? Although young master doesn't have a force field, you've already reached an extraordinarily high understanding in wind laws. That is more powerful than any force field. Even His Highness the Crown Prince is inferior to you in the aspect of laws. Then again, he is only the top master of the South Sea. If young master participated in the South Horizon region, then you too could have obtained that title. As for killing Xian Wuji, I've already investigated that matter. There was simply no one who saw that fight. Who knew if Lin Ming killed Xian Wuji himself or whether or not he had someone come help him, or perhaps he might have used some dastardly trap on Xian Wuji. Also, who knows whether Xian Wuji is as powerful as the rumors say? I'm just not convinced that this martial artist from such a tiny South Horizon region actually dares to call himself young emperor. Even young master doesn't dare to call himself that. In fact, young master should have a match with this Lin Ming to show him just how fierce our 4 divine kingdoms actually are. Li Yifeng's eyes widened and he testily said, "Dumb little girl, stop pulling nonsense out of your ass. It should be right that Xian Wuji was a 4th stage life destruction powerhouse. And even if he was the weakest of 4th stage life destruction martial artists, that still isn't a character I can deal with. I don't know whether Lin Ming killed Xian Wuji by himself or not, but what I do know is that Lin Ming is absolutely strong. If I fight him and win, others will not commend me for doing so. And if I lose, a result which seems far more likely to happen, then I'll have disgraced myself. Remember, today we came to eat for free. We're here to make friends, not to fight." Lin Ming's confrontation with Chinga was very subtle, but what kind of characters were the martial artists present? There were naturally many people that noticed what happened. In a corner of the main hall, Lan Xin was drinking a cup of scented tea. She laughed and said, "It seems that Divine Kingdom Prince's maid isn't too convinced by Lin Ming." Sitting near Lan Xin, Duanmu Kun said, "That probably isn't a maid. She's so young but she's already at the revolving core realm. Also, her foundation isn't too shabby either. She's probably the royal concubine of that Divine Kingdom Prince and is only dressed up to look like a maid. What do you think of that Divine Kingdom Prince?" Lan Xin thoughtlessly asked. "He seems like a cynical playboy, but in fact his will is strong, his foundation is solid, and his strength is extraordinary. If our cultivations were the same then I could fight with him, but since his cultivation is higher than mine, there isn't any way for me to do so." Cultivation was one of the most important factors of strength. Duanmu Kun could jump ranks to fight, but that was only compared to other more ordinary geniuses. If he compared himself to someone with his own level of talent, then half a small boundary of difference in cultivation was a nearly insurmountable gap. After Divine Kingdom Prince Li Yifeng appeared, more and more great figures made their appearance. But compared to Li Yifeng, all of them had been eclipsed by him. As the grand ceremony was about to begin, a row of unusual guests caught Lin Ming's attention. They were actually people from the deep-sea turquoise-eyed ape clan. Several months ago, in order for the turquoise-eyed ape clan to obtain the giant leviathan's marrow, they had joined forces with Xian Wuji to chase down the beast, finally forcing it 300,000 miles under the sea into a trench. Afterwards, Lin Ming escaped in the darkness and made a visit to the turquoise-eyed ape clan, killing many people in a massive slaughter. But the turquoise-eyed ape clan patriarch still couldn't give up on the giant leviathan's marrow and also decided to help Xian Wuji in laying down the Great Illusionary Array formation. Lin Ming had returned at this point. Because he had chased Xian Wuji over hundreds of thousands of miles, Lin Ming simply didn't bother caring about the turquoise-eyed ape clan patriarch. Like this, he had escaped this fatal catastrophe. "What are you here for?" Lin Ming's voice was grim, his expression cold. "Lin. Young Emperor Lin, I came this time to respectfully congratulate young Emperor Lin on your wonderful marriage and also to bring a congratulatory wedding gift. If there was any place in which I caused offense before, I ask young Emperor Lin to be merciful and broad-minded." The one who headed this group was exactly the turquoise-eyed ape clan patriarch of before. He truly feared Lin Ming from the depths of his soul now. After all, the turquoise-eyed ape clan still had to survive in the South Sea. Since they had offended Lin Ming, they would likely be doomed to extinction in the future. Although he feared that Lin Ming would deal with him here, he had no choice but to come and personally apologize. He hoped that in front of so many honored guests and on such a joyous occasion, Lin Ming wouldn't start a scene. Wedding gift. One of Lin Ming's eyebrows curved up as he maintained his icy attitude. Millimeter. Yes, it's this. The turquoise-eyed ape patriarch clenched his teeth, seeming to make a gesture of great determination as he swiped his spatial ring and brought out a crimson jade box. As this jade box appeared, an incomparably rich fire origin energy suddenly emanated outwards. Lin Ming was surprised, but Mu Yuhuang's eyes began to shine with a happy light. This was a spirit vein source, and a fire attribute one at that. A spirit vein was the fundamental basis for the existence of a sect. Only when a sect had their own spirit vein could they ensure that there would be a rich heaven and earth origin energy in their territory and then attract martial artists to join their sect. When Divine Phoenix Island was destroyed, Mu Yuhuang had led the remaining disciples to live under the yoke of Yin-Yang Profound Palace, and a great reason for this was because of Yin-Yang Profound Palace's spirit veins. Generally speaking, the higher grade a sect was, the higher grade their spirit veins would be. Divine Phoenix Island was only a 4th grade sect and the grade of its spirit veins had been just enough for them. But with Lin Ming becoming increasingly strong, Divine Phoenix Island would inevitably rise in strength too. At that time, a low-grade spirit vein would become a hindrance in the development of the sect. To solve this problem, they could either relocate the sect or find a spirit vein that could be transplanted, that is, to find the so-called spirit vein source. There weren't many spirit veins in the Sky Spill continent to begin with, and there were even fewer spirit veins that could be transplanted. This sort of treasure could not be purchased with money. Moreover, to find one with a matching attribute was far more difficult. Mu Yuhuang had been worrying about this matter, but she never expected that the turquoise-eyed ape clan patriarch would send out a gift of a spirit vein source, and one that wasn't of a low grade either. This was truly a generous gift. Here, turquoise-eyed ape clan patriarch is far too kind. This old woman must be disrespectful. It is truly a shame. Mu Yuhuang smiled so brightly that even her dimples showed. Although she spoke politely, she had no qualms at all about receiving this gift. With a quick swipe of her right hand, the jade box of the spirit vein source was placed into her spatial ring. She naturally knew the reason that the turquoise-eyed ape clan was willing to pay such a hemorrhaging price. In the end, it all came down to Lin Ming being far too strong. Seeing Mu Yuhuang take in this spirit vein source, the turquoise-eyed ape clan patriarch felt his heart ache as if it were dripping blood. This sort of treasure was also incomparably precious to their turquoise-eyed ape clan. The turquoise-eyed ape clan focused on water attribute cultivation methods, thus fire attribute spirit veins were useless to them to begin with. However, a fire attribute spirit vein source could be exchanged for a similar water attribute one. It was only because spirit vein sources were so rare that they hadn't exchanged it in such a long time. Now, he had to politely bow and humble himself while giving this spirit vein source to Divine Phoenix Island. How could he possibly be happy with this? But there was no other choice. Compared to a spirit vein source, the survival of their clan was far more important. Since the turquoise-eyed ape clan was willing to offer such a generous gift, Lin Ming didn't bother to pursue past matters on such a joyous occasion. In truth, this spirit vein source really was too important to Divine Phoenix Island. It was something that could only been found through a stroke of fate. At this time, the auspicious moment had arrived. The wedding was about to begin. And at this time, with another announcement from the Master of Ceremonies, several strangely clothed middle-aged people appeared in the main hall. These three all had a thick demonic energy around them. They were clearly demonic path martial artists. Lin Ming didn't recognize any of these three. But, at the side of demonic path martial artist in front, there was a young girl who looked like his concubine. As Lin Ming looked at her, he felt his heart go cold, his eyes unable to leave her. How could it be? Chapter 754, Jade of the Goddess. Chapter 754, Jade of the Goddess. The young woman that the demonic path martial artist brought along only seemed to be just under 20. She had a slender and beautiful figure and a pair of still eyes with a strange dark grey light in her pupils. Her face was pleasant to look at and there was a mysterious tattoo mark on her cheek. The young woman's appearance and the strange mark on her face were not the reason that Lin Ming had lost his sense of decorum. Rather, there was an azure-colored jade pendant hanging over her chest. Engraved at the center of this jade pendant was a mystical design, as if it were a bird-like totem. This jade pendant exuded an extremely pure energy. One could see at first glance that it wasn't an ordinary object. However, it wasn't an offensive-type treasure either. In fact, it was difficult to judge just what sort of function this jade pendant had. This jade pendant. Lin Ming sucked in a breath of cold air. When he had been in the 1,000-mile forbidden zone in the eternal demon abyss, Lin Ming had rushed his way into the lair of a bunch of corpse devils. It turned out that the lair was actually the ancient grave of a goddess that had slept there untouched and unblemished for 100,000 years or even longer. Originally, Lin Ming hadn't wanted to recklessly disturb the remains of such a figure, but as he covered the sarcophagus and was leaving, he heard the faint call of a woman's voice summoning him back. Lin Ming had turned around and opened the sarcophagus again. Then, he had discovered a jade pendant and a necklace. As he was exploring the goddess body, to his amazement he discovered that the goddess still had a heartbeat. From there, Lin Ming had sensed the heart of a great emperor from within her that had been beating for all these tens of thousands of years. Lin Ming had touched the jade pendant of the goddess. It was nearly exactly the same as the jade pendant that this grey pupil woman was wearing in front of him, whether it was the design or the energy that it emitted. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Ming had just now confirmed that the goddess jade pendant from the grave was still in his spatial ring, he would have thought they were the exact same. Lin Ming's improper actions had fallen into the eyes of that demonic path martial artist. That martial artist frowned, obviously unhappy. His possessive nature was very strong and he naturally didn't want others to be staring at his concubine like this. Young hero Lin, could it be that you've met my concubine in the past before? The demonic path martial artist's unhappy inquiry broke through Lin Ming's thoughts. Lin Ming thought little of it and looked up at these three unexpected guests. Of these three demonic path martial artists, all of them had life destruction cultivations. Two of them were at the third stage of life destruction and one of them was at the second stage of life destruction. What Lin Ming was surprised by was that martial artist in the lead was the one with a second stage life destruction cultivation. He also seemed to be the youngest, looking just over 30 years of age. As for the two third-stage life destruction martial artists, they seemed to be following the orders of that second-stage life destruction man. These weren't people who came from near the South Horizon region. Otherwise, it was impossible for such masters to remain unknown. Lin Ming would have already heard about them. Lin Ming frowned a bit as he thought about what the goal of these three individuals could be. But at this moment, Lia Feng's true essence sound transmission resounded in his ears. Brother Lin's friends truly come from far and wide. If I'm not wrong then these three come from the number 1 bandit group of the northwestern barren desert. Although they are bandits, the truth is that they are also a super sect with an inheritance of over 7,000 years. Their sect had an emperor-level powerhouse appear just 2,000 years ago. Now, that strange emperor-level monster should be living in seclusion somewhere in the Great Desert. Even my father has to give several points of respect to him. As for this second-stage life-destruction demonic path martial artist, he should be one of the little masters of the Northwest Great Desert, Wang Yichan. Although he is at the second stage of life destruction, his true combat strength far surpasses his cultivation boundary. When he was young he was the most famous talent of the Northwest Great Desert. He was able to fight revolving core powerhouses at the Xiantian realm and fight life destruction masters at the revolving core realm. I never thought that he would be interested in Brother Lin and wish to become friends. Ha ha ha. Become friends? Lin Ming was speechless. He certainly wasn't naive enough to think that this person had come out of nowhere to meet him. As a martial artist of the righteous path he was, in a way, enemies with demonic path martial artists, so relations would always be ambivalent. Lin Ming cupped his hands together and said, "Today is my wedding celebration. What are you gentlemen here for?" Wang Yichan laughed twice and cupped his hands back in respect. "I am the young master of the Northwest Great Desert Demon region. I heard that the South Sea Demon region's great elder Shen Wuji died under young hero's hands. May I confirm whether or not this matter is true? Lin Ming thought for a moment and then nodded, yes. So it was so. Wang Yichan shook his head and slowly said, young hero Lin may have killed Shen Wuji, but you may not know that Shen Wuji had a number of cooperative deals with my Northwest Great Desert. Now that Shen Wuji has died, these deals have naturally become invalid. More importantly, Shen Wuji still owes my Northwest Great Desert a number of benefits that haven't been returned. Deals? Lin Ming's eyebrows shot up. Most of Shen Wuji's so-called deals had to do with helping him break through to the next boundary. Are you saying that Shen Wuji broke through to the 4th stage of life destruction with your help? Young hero Lin is fleet of thought. Wang Yichan said without reservation, Shen Wuji indeed managed to barely cross the 4th stage of life destruction with my Northwest Great Desert's help. But the promises that he made haven't been fulfilled, and this has caused massive losses to my Northwest Great Desert. I see. No wonder Shen Wuji was still able to forcefully break through the 4th stage of life destruction even though he didn't obtain a complete Nirvana Dragon route. It was all because he had the Northwest Great Desert secretly assisting him. The Northwest Great Desert must have paid a great price for this, and Shen Wuji must have also promised to repay a number of benefits. However, now all of that had become water leaking through a bamboo basket. The Northwest Great Desert had helped Shen Wuji to destroy Divine Phoenix Island in a way, and also to break through to the 4th stage of life destruction. If it wasn't for this, then the giant Leviathan wouldn't have been sealed in the deep-sea trench for 4 months. Lin Ming held his arms against his chest and looked at Wang Yichan with indifference. In the end, what they had done was more or less unrelated and their domains were different to begin with, so there wasn't anything to pursue here. Mr. Wang shouldn't have come to my grand wedding just to say these sorts of things. Then, what are you here for? Stop going in circles and say what you want. Lin Ming asked, straight to the point. Haha, since young hero Lin is being so frank then so shall I. Shen Wuji broke through to the 4th stage of life destruction, causing a number of problems and dangers for young hero Lin. Conversely, young hero Lin also killed Shen Wuji, making us suffer a number of losses. Our areas of influence and goals are different to begin with, so this matter should end here. But before that, my Northwest Great Desert provided Shen Wuji a number of items. He still hasn't paid for these items yet, but that's how things are. Still, these items belong to my Northwest Great Desert. Now that Shen Wuji has died, I'm sure that his spatial ring must have also fallen into young hero Lin's possession, and I hope that young hero Lin will return these 2 items. First, there is a white jade key, and secondly, there is a life destruction pill. Ha ha ha. Lin Ming laughed out loud. Lin Ming had indeed seen these 2 objects in Shen Wuji's spatial ring. As for that white jade key, that should be a kind of item used to open the entrance to a mystic realm. But that life destruction pill was of great help to a martial artist to cross the stages of life destruction. It was an incomparably precious medicine. Wang Yichan frowned. Young hero Lin, what is it? Do you have some doubts? Doubts? What a joke. Lin Ming's smile suddenly disappeared. These items are indeed in my hands, but you actually open your mouth and call them your Northwest Great Desert's treasure. Who would actually believe that? Moreover, they could be said to be called tools that you provided to Shen Wuji to destroy Divine Phoenix Island. According to your words, you lent a saber to Shen Wuji so he could murder others, and I should allow him to kill me. But if I killed Shen Wuji instead, then I have to return that weapon to you still. Is there any logic in the world as ridiculous as this? Lin Ming was originally someone with a strong character to begin with. As he loudly spoke these words, the guests in the main hall also began to shout back. What young Emperor Lin said is right. The Northwest Great Desert has gone too far. Even though that's true, the Northwest Great Desert is too powerful. Even one of their young masters is at the 2nd stage of life destruction, and not an ordinary one at that too. His 2 guards are also at the 3rd stage of life destruction. It is far too difficult for Divine Phoenix Island to think of contending with such a superpower. The Northwest Great Desert had an Emperor-level powerhouse, so it could be called a Holy Land-level force. However, Divine Phoenix Island was a mere 4th-grade sect. There simply wasn't any comparison between them. In the end, the Northwest Great Desert was using their greater status to bully others. If Divine Phoenix Island was a force on the same level as the four divine kingdoms, then they wouldn't have dared to come here so rashly. Wang Yichan grimaced. Still, he didn't lose his composure. He calmly said, "Young hero Lin, I can make some concessions to you. That white jade key is one of the keys necessary to open a mystic realm left behind by a 6th grade sect that was ruled by a supreme elder of the demonic path. All 7 of these keys are needed to open the mystic realm. You can rely on this key to join us in entering the mystic realm and even obtain a treasure from within." In Wang Yichan's eyes, this was already a very attractive condition. To explore a mystic realm left behind by an ancient demonic path supreme elder, this was a chance that could even move an emperor-level powerhouse. Life destruction masters would absolutely go crazy for it. Lin Ming was only at the late revolving core realm. If he went and casually shared in some of the treasure, then he could revel in it. However, he never imagined that Lin Ming would flat out refuse. "I'm sorry, but I'm not interested." Who cared about the Holy Lord of a 6th grade sect? At most it would be a mystic realm on par with the demon god Imperial Palace. After Lin Ming had gone to time-worn Phoenix City and experienced the Chaos Stones, ancient Phoenix Totems, God-transforming mirror, and other such great lucky chances, these types of mystic realms no longer held much interest to him. Moreover, entering a dangerous and unknown mystic realm with a bunch of demonic path martial artists was simply a recipe for disaster. It was highly likely that he could even be killed inside. Lin Ming wasn't arrogant enough to think that he was unrivaled to anyone in the life destruction realm. There were far too many life destruction powerhouses in the world that vastly outstripped Shen Wuji in strength. Wang Yichan's face finally sank to the ground. Their Northwest Great Desert was a Holy Land level force, and he had even humbled himself to come to a 4th grade sect to negotiate. This was already showing due reference and face to everyone involved. Yet, this fellow Lin Ming actually reached for a yard after taking an inch. "Lin Ming, we've come here with enough sincerity, so what do you want?" Lin Ming thought for a moment, his eyes faintly sweeping past the concubine standing next to Wang Yichan. Then, he said, "If you want this jade key, you must exchange it for that woman as well as a spirit vein source of the 4th grade or above." Lin Ming's few words left the entire audience dumbfounded. Even Mu Yu Huang was rattled. There was nothing wrong with Lin Ming asking for a spirit vein source, but he also wanted that woman. Mu Yu Huang looked at that girl. The girl didn't even seem 20 years old. With her Hutian realm cultivation at that age, her talent could be considered adequate but nothing spectacular. It also needed to be mentioned that Lin Ming wasn't someone who was controlled by his primal urges of lust, but even if it were a demon path vandal that walked the road of obscenity and lasciviously drooled over women, they still wouldn't trade a priceless key to open a mystic realm for a woman. Everyone thought that Wang Yichan would agree to this matter and then haggle over the matter of the spirit vein source, but they didn't imagine that Wang Yichan would scowl and say, "Lin Ming, you would rather do things the hard way than the easy way." Chapter 755, Swords Drawn. Chapter 755, Swords Drawn. Wang Yichan's words were a clear threat. The atmosphere immediately became tense. Although a 4th grade spirit vein source was precious, it was still absolutely obtainable to a power on the level of the Northwest Great Desert. Before this, the turquoise-eyed ape clan patriarch had taken out a fire attribute spirit vein source at the quasi-5th grade, thus he felt pained in his heart to do so. Now with Lin Ming wanted to exchange a mystic realm key for a 4th grade spirit source vein, that wasn't too expensive or demanding at all. But, the crux of this entire matter was, that jade pendant woman. Interesting, very interest. He doesn't love treasures but loves beauties, ha ha ha. Li Yifeng said with zest as he drank some wine in a corner of the hall. "Does young master think that everyone is as depraved as you are? There must be some problem with that woman if they are fighting over her," Li Yifeng's maid grumpily said. But, the young maid suddenly smiled, a bit happy that there was a ruckus occurring. "No matter what the situation is, it's quite lively right now. If they fight, then that Wang Yichan boy won't be easy to deal with. He is a talent himself and has also crossed the 2nd stage of life destruction. It's hard to estimate just how high his true combat strength is. I think it's most likely for Lin Ming to lose here. Since he claims to be a young emperor, then this should be fun. I wonder just how this whole debacle will end. You naughty girl, your heart is no good at all. But, this Wang Yichan is indeed fierce, it won't be easy to deal with him. Li Yifeng licked his lips. Whether it was Lin Ming or Wang Yichan, both of them would be future overlords of their own domains. Although Divine Phoenix Island was the weaker party right now, Wang Yichan wouldn't do something so brash as offending a potential future powerhouse. Lin Ming didn't expect that Wang Yichan would have such a violent reaction. As he looked at the young woman standing next to him, he discovered she simply stood there like a block of wood, her grey pupils not even having the slightest change in them. From just looking at her, one felt a deep sense of pity and regret for her existence. This woman, she shouldn't have been willing to be Wang Yichan's concubine. Rather, she had been forced. She was completely indifferent to Lin Ming asking for her, as if her heart had died out long ago. What sort of secret was on her? How was it related to the goddess in the eternal demon abyss? For a time, all sorts of thoughts flashed through Lin Ming's mind. The reason that he had wanted this mysterious woman to begin with was because he wanted to ask her about her life experiences as well as her family. Secondly, he wanted to conceal the secret of the jade pendant. If he directly requested the jade pendant from Wang Yichan, then it would easily arouse suspicions. If Wang Yichan thought that there was some special secret with the jade pendant, then he would definitely refuse. But now, it looked as if this young woman had an extraordinary significance to Wang Yichan. Lin Ming caused all sorts of suspicions to rise in his heart. There was definitely something special about her. I can provide you a top 4th grade spirit vein source, but as for my concubine, I advise you not to think about that anymore. I hate others encroaching on my women the most. Lin Ming replied with a true essence sound transmission, Sir, if I'm not wrong then this woman is still a virgin. Although she is your concubine, you have no intention of marrying her, am I right? As long as I can borrow this woman then that will be enough. As for the 4th grade spirit vein source, the quasi-5th grade spirit vein source from the deep-sea turquoise-eyed ape clan will be enough. I need to borrow this woman for 3 years, and 3 years from now I will return her to you untouched. When that time comes, you can again receive her into your room. The reason that Lin Ming said these words was first to probe if Wang Yichan was only interested in the jade pendant young woman's beauty. Secondly, he asked for a 3-year deadline because 3 years from now, Lin Ming's strength would definitely have risen to another level. At that time, he would have the strength to negotiate better terms. After all, the Northwest Great Desert was a Holy Land level force. Lin Ming didn't wish to become enemies with them. Lin Ming, stop repeatedly testing my bottom line, otherwise I will turn your grand wedding into a funeral. As Wang Yichan spoke, he released a thick killing intent. This also confirmed Lin Ming's guess. Wang Yichan definitely didn't keep this woman around him for her beauty. In fact, it was unknown whether or not she was even his concubine. Turn my wedding into a funeral? Lin Ming coldly smiled. It's true that you are from a holy land, but so what? If we really fight, then I will have the giant Leviathan lead everyone from Divine Phoenix Island deep into the South Sea. I don't believe that in such a vast South Sea I won't be able to evade you. And then, dozens of years from now, I will instead kill my way into your Northwest Great Desert. At that time, it's hard to say just how the situation will turn out. Kill your way into my Northwest Great Desert a few dozen years from now? Ha ha ha. Wang Yichan recklessly laughed. Others call you young emperor, but do you really believe you are capable of entering the Divine Sea dozens of years from now? How ridiculous. I don't need the future. Just here and with my strength alone I can already dye Divine Phoenix Island in blood. As Wn Yichan spoke to hear, a red light appeared in his eyes and a faint black fog seemed to emanate from him as if he were ready to erupt at any moment. Although there were many esteemed guests here, the strongest among them were Nanyun Wang and Abbot Konghe of the Great Zen Temple. Both of them were third-stage life destruction masters. However, they were still guests here and as heads of their own forces, they wouldn't meddle in affairs of the Northwest Great Desert and Divine Phoenix Island. As for everyone else, they were nothing to speak of. Seeing the tense atmosphere that was ready to blow up at any second, the guests present turned somewhat white. This other party was not easy to handle. Wang Yichan's foundation was extremely solid. It was hard to say where the limits of his strength were. Both of them were geniuses, but Lin Ming was only at the late revolving core compared to the second stage of life destruction. That was a large boundary and a small boundary's difference added together. Jumping ranks to fight wasn't terrifying. What was terrifying was for a favored son of heaven to jump ranks to fight amongst his peers. Even a difference of half a small boundary was extremely difficult to overcome. No matter how one looked at it, Divine Phoenix Island looked a bit powerless here. It would be an injustice if they were swept up in the mess and ended up perishing. Young master, why are still talking nonsense with this brat? Just capture him and take what you need away. If he remains a thick-headed idiot who still wants to chew off more than he can chew, just kill him. Behind Wang Yichan, a third-stage life-destruction elder drew out his weapon. Ha! A sharp origin energy immediately cut several nearby wedding tables in half, causing a number of exquisite jade tableware pieces to fall onto the ground, broken. As Lin Ming saw this, he scowled. This was his grand wedding banquet after all. With all these esteemed guests gathered here at his home, it should be a festive and auspicious event. But, for this person to draw out his weapon like this was truly slapping his face in public. At this time, two women appeared in the main hall. They were Mu Qianyu and Qin Xingxuan. According to normal wedding customs, Mu Qianyu should be waiting in the nuptial chambers while Lin Ming greeted and entertained the guests outside. But now that matters had devolved to this level, she had no choice but to appear. Master, what's happening? As Mu Qianyu saw the scene unfolding in the main hall, her complexion paled a bit. Mu Yuhuang quickly placed Mu Qianyu behind her, her expression solemn. Yue, tell Demon Shine to ready the giant Leviathan. The situation is very bad right now. Wang Yichan simply didn't care about what Mu Yuhuang was doing. He coldly smiled, and with a flick of his finger, a palm-sized jade dish flew up, falling atop his fingertips where it rapidly spun around. Lin Ming was startled as he saw this. As for Li Yifeng, his complexion completely changed. This was a battle spirit. That brat Wang Yichan has comprehended his own battle spirit. Generally, only divine sea powerhouses were able to form their own battle spirit. But, there were occasionally extraordinarily talented martial artists that were able to comprehend their own battle spirits in the life-destruction realm. The growth of a battle spirit followed that of a martial artist's cultivation. Thus, the earlier a martial artist comprehended a battle spirit, the more potential for growth there was in the future. To comprehend a battle spirit at the second stage of life destruction, there are many divine kingdom princes and crown princes that aren't able to achieve this. It seems this Wang Yichan has an amazing talent in the aspect of martial arts will. Li Yifeng sighed in his heart. In this regard, he had no choice but to be ashamed at his own inferiority. A talent often had particular areas in which they excelled. For instance, Li Yifeng excelled in the concept and laws of wind. His comprehension of the concept of wind had already caught up to that of a divine sea supreme elder. But, while this Wang Yichan was clearly extraordinary in the aspect of will, it was possible that he was relatively weak in the comprehension of laws. There were very few geniuses that were strong in all aspects. It wasn't just Li Yifeng, but the worldly and experienced great Zen temple's abbot Konghe also recognized this battle spirit. He bowed his head and began to recite Buddhist sutras. It appeared that this situation seemed more and more likely to end poorly. Lin Ming, I will give you a final chance to hand over that jade key. You have already aroused my anger, now I will no longer pay you any compensation. Lin Ming narrowed his eyes and looked at the spinning jade plate above Wang Yichan's fingertip. This person obviously thought far too highly of himself. Otherwise, he would have poured his battle spirit into his own treasure weapon instead of a jade plate. As he glanced over at the grey-pupilled young woman standing beside Wang Yichan, he noticed a sad light in her eyes as if she were mourning for her fate. Lin Ming was inexplicably touched. Just what sort of story was behind this woman? It seems you insist on dying. Then, let me help you along. Wang Yichan coldly coughed, suddenly throwing out his palm. The battle spirit-infused jade dish was like a death-dealing wheel as it cut straight towards Lin Ming's neck. In that moment, the degree of hardness of that small jade dish had reached that of a heaven-step treasure. Be careful. Mu Qianyu and Qin Xingxuan cried out in the same time, their hearts in chaos. At this time, they couldn't imagine just what they would do if Lin Ming was harmed. Lin Ming's vision condensed and he flicked the fingers on his hand. A battle spirit wrapped around the air, howling forth like an arrow. A battle spirit was immeasurably fast. In a flash, the battle spirit of the air and the battle spirit of the small jade dish violently collided. With a peng sound, the small jade dish split in half. As for that battle spirit-infused air current, it continued to cut towards the point between Wang Yichan's eyebrows without slowing. What? Wang Yichan was greatly shocked. Waving his right hand, he immediately brought up a black long sword. With a loud ringing sound of metal crashing, the battle spirit smashed into the blade of the black sword. The long sword trembled. That Li Yifeng, who had been drinking some good wine and watching the play unfold, was dumbfounded on the spot. His mouth opened wide, wine pouring down the corners of his mouth as he looked on in shock, seeming like an old man suffering from senility. A battle spirit was powerful, but it also depended on what kind of object it was attached to. Attaching it to a treasure obviously provided the strongest striking power. In his arrogance, Wang Yichan had underestimated his opponent and only used a jade dish. But Lin Ming was even more arrogant and had only used the air. Air was even lighter and frailer than that small jade dish. But, in Lin Ming's hand, air had actually broken through that small jade dish. Chapter 756, Duel of Battle Spirits. Chapter 756, Duel of Battle Spirits. The wisp of air pierced through the small jade dish and still had ample force left over to shoot towards Wang Yichan. Wang Yichan took his sword out to block it, but the strike still caused his low-grade heaven-step treasure sword to tremble. From this alone, the difference in the two battle spirits could be imagined. This Lin Ming, if I'm guessing correctly, then I fear that battle spirit has nearly reached large success of the bronze level. Li Yifeng sucked in a breath of cold air. Even the young maid standing beside him had widened eyes. As someone who also came from the four divine kingdoms, she naturally understood what it meant to have a bronze-level battle spirit at large success. Every level of a battle spirit was divided into 4 ranks: elementary, small success, large success, and perfection. It wasn't wrong that Wang Yichan was talented, but he had still just formed his battle spirit several years ago and its rank had slowly reached the elementary rank. As for Lin Ming, his battle spirit was already at the peak of small success. There were even many divine sea powerhouses that hadn't been able to achieve this degree yet. A difference of a little more than a boundary wasn't much at all. However, Wang Yichan's cultivation was at the second stage of life destruction and Lin Ming was only at the late revolving core. If Lin Ming were to step into the second stage of life destruction, then it was possible for his battle spirit to reach bronze-level perfection, and perhaps he could even obtain a silver battle spirit before he reached the divine sea. A silver battle spirit was a legendary existence. Thus, the gap between the two could be seen from just this. With a mere late revolving core cultivation, his battle spirit has already reached the peak of small success. Then, when did Lin Ming form his battle spirit? The early revolving core realm? Or even extreme Xiantian? As Li Yifeng thought this, he felt a chill crawl up his spine. Even that young maid who didn't think too much of Lin Ming was also shocked speechless. In terms of will, Lin Ming's talent in that category had exceeded her understanding. Perhaps, he really did kill Shen Wuji by himself. As this thought echoed in the young maid's heart, she closed her dropped jaw. If Li Yifeng could think of this, then Wang Yichan was even clearer on what was happening. As for Great Zen Temple's Abbot Konghe, although he didn't understand the different ranks of battle spirits, he was still able to determine that Lin Ming's battle spirit was far more formidable than Wang Yichan's. In that moment, Abbot Konghe felt that the world of juniors had reached a level that was nearly impossible to catch up to. Maybe in a few decades, or even less, these juniors would reach heights that he couldn't even comprehend. Lin Ming, I never thought that you would also have a battle spirit. Wang Yichan's lips twitched. His battle spirit was his ultimate killer move. He had intended to use it to shock and/or the entire audience, but he never imagined that Lin Ming would turn it around to shame him instead. His heart sank as he thought to himself, my battle spirit has a demonic path attribute to it. I was too careless just now and didn't use the special attribute. If I go all out, then a difference of a small boundary shouldn't matter too much. Wang Yichan couldn't stand that he had been defeated in what he excelled at the most. This was a major blow to his self-confidence. Slaughter path attribute, battle spirit assault. A black light suddenly erupted in Wang Yichan's eyes, turning into a substantiated sword of will that thrust straight at Lin Ming. Wang Yichan had comprehended a battle spirit when he was crossing through life destruction. Moreover, what he comprehended was a rare specialized battle spirit. This battle spirit had a slaughter path attribute. It was able to display the strongest destructive power in battle, even able to directly extinguish the life force of an opponent. A duel of battle spirits. Lin Ming's mind stirred. Before this, he had heard Demon Shine say that martial artists with battle spirits could battle in the world of will through their battle spirits. Wang Yichan was the first martial artist Lin Ming met who had a battle spirit. Before this, although he had never truly fought with a martial artist in the world of will, he had done something similar during his stay at the Road of Emperor. There, when Lin Ming faced the Road of Will lights, in order to pass every light he would have to enter the will world and engage the residual will of the past emperors in battle. Lin Ming was not a stranger to battles within the world of will. In fact, it was quite familiar to him. Lin Ming's thoughts focused and the battle spirit floating in his spiritual sea transformed into a long spear that roared forth. An azure ray of pure will shot forth from between Lin Ming's eyebrows, meeting Wang Yichang's sword of black will. Peng! As both battle spirits collided, Lin Ming and Wang Yichan both arrived at the world of will. Without further ado, Wang Yichan flicked his finger and a massive black python appeared out of thin air, rushing towards Lin Ming. This was a python formed from Wang Yichan's thoughts. In a battle within the world of will, victory didn't depend on cultivation methods of martial skills, even cultivation didn't have that great of an influence. Rather, it purely depended on whose will was stronger. Compared to the Road of Will lights Lin Ming had once faced, Wang Yichan's battle spirit was far inferior. An azure long spear shot forth like a meteor, drilling right through the black python. A great deal of black blood rained to the ground. Wang Yichan devilishly grinned and then loudly shouted, "Slaughter energy, swallow all." At that moment, the thick black fog burst out from the python's body, swallowing up that azure long spear. With a kai sound, the black mist melded into the spear shaft as if it were trying to assimilate with it. Wang Yichan laughed, "Lin Ming, my battle spirit has a slaughter path attribute. I can extinguish your life and swallow your will. Battle spirits could also have different attributes." Lin Ming's mind stirred. He hadn't heard Demon Shine mention this point before. Lin Ming wasn't unfamiliar with slaughter path attribute abilities. When he completed his 12-winged heavenly demon tattoo, he had obtained the slaughter path attribute Death God Force Field. But this was a battle in the world of will. He couldn't use the Death God Force Field here unless he reproduced it using his own will. In the end, a battle in the world of will depended entirely on whose will was stronger. But he didn't need the Death God Force Field to begin with. If a battle spirit could have an attribute, then Lin Ming's azure will also had an attribute. That was endlessness. Break. Lin Ming gave a deep shout and an azure light suddenly radiated outwards. With a resounding dragon roar, an azure dragon impacted the heavens, thrusting its claws out and directly ripping apart the black python's body to pieces. Lin Ming had obtained only a single drop of reverse scale blood, but the truth was that its quality was far higher than the blood of the ancient phoenix. The blood of the ancient phoenix was only ordinary phoenix blood. In the legends, a phoenix god beast preyed upon giant leviathans. Its size was no less than that of a golden-winged roc, and when it spread out its two wings it was able to hide the endless blue skies. It was difficult to say just how much blood such a creature had. As for that drop of reverse-scale blood Lin Ming had obtained in the Sorcerer Pagoda, that came from an azure true dragon's reverse scale. For dragons that had a reverse scale, to touch it meant death. The blood from the reverse scale was only inferior to blood essence. Naturally, The quality was much higher than a phoenix's ordinary blood. Bang bang bang. The black fog was completely scattered by the azure energy. After exterminating the black python, the azure dragon rushed forth with unstoppable force, firing right into Wang Yichan. Damn it! Wang Yichan angrily cried out as he produced a long sword, cutting it towards that azure dragon. Peng! The long sword broke apart and Wang Yichan's body was torn in half by the azure dragon's claws. With a miserable scream he was thrust out of the world of will, his eyes opening even as his body dripped with a cold sweat and his face became pallid. In the world of will, where the battle had only lasted for 3 breaths of time, Wang Yichan had been defeated. Lin Ming opened his eyes looking calm as usual. As his cultivation constantly rose, his battle spirit became increasingly close to breaking through to large success of the bronze level. Within the Sky Spill continent, a divine sea powerhouse with a large success bronze level battle spirit could be considered extraordinary. Lin Ming. Wang Yichan's mouth twitched as he gasped for breath in great gulps of air. In this fight of battle spirits, his main body hadn't been damaged but his will had been injured. It would be several days before he was restored to his peak condition. He was unwilling to accept that defeat just now and wanted to fight Lin Ming again in the real world. However, after having lost just now, fighting again would not leave any good impressions on those present, and even winning would mean he lost face. Moreover, Wang Yichan had been frightened in that exchange just now. He wasn't too confident that he could defeat Lin Ming, even in the real world. Wang Yichan, if I'm not wrong then that so-called concubine of yours was captured from somewhere and then had a spell placed on her. Although I won't call myself some sort of honorable gentleman, I wouldn't do anything recklessly shameful. If you two truly loved each other then I would have no objections, but now, taking her from your hands is well within reason. Lin Ming's words were much more reasonable, and now that he had won that battle against Wang Yichan just now, all of the initiative had fallen into his hands. Lin Ming, do you truly wish to become enemies with my Northwest Great Desert? Have you clearly thought about just what the consequences will be like? Wang Yichan said out loud before continuing with a true essence sound transmission. I will trade a 5th grade spirit vein source for that white jade key. Wang Yichan had no choice but to lay down the threat of sect extermination. But at this moment, Li Yifeng laughed and stood up. Brother Wang, you've already lost what there is to lose, can't you afford what you lost? Wang Yichan followed the direction of the voice. As he saw Li Yifeng casually standing at the corner of the main hall, his heart jumped. This was definitely another extraordinary young elite. This person must come from some great power. You are. I am Li Yifeng. Li Yifeng, Prince of the 7-star Divine Kingdom. To think that such a solemn and dignified Divine Kingdom Prince would actually come to Lin Ming's wedding celebrations. Could it be that your 7-star Divine Kingdom is trying to recruit Lin Ming? Wang Yichan felt his heart go cold as he saw Li Yifeng. This Li Yifeng's comprehension of the law of wind had reached an extremely high level and his foundation was incomparably solid too. He had at least twice the amount of total true essence that a normal revolving core martial artist would have, and the power of the stars was sealed in his right hand, greatly strengthening him. Of course, Wang Yichan wouldn't care about these things at all. After all, Li Yifeng's cultivation wasn't that high. But what Li Yifeng represented actually caused Wang Yichan to feel a pang of fear. Li Yifeng represented one of the 4 divine kingdoms, the 7-star Divine Kingdom. Compared to the 4 divine kingdoms, the Northwest Great Desert was far lacking in all aspects. The 7-star Divine Kingdom wanted to win Lin Ming over to their side. Wang Yichan couldn't help but think this. If this were so, then what grounds did his Northwest Great Desert have to threaten Divine Phoenix Island? The Jade Key and the Life Destruction Pill. Wang Yichan spat out these words in a livid rage. He did care about the Life Destruction Pill, but what was most important here was that Mystic Realm Key. In truth, this key contained some of Xian Wuji's works inside, otherwise it would never have been placed with him to begin with. If every key wasn't collected then they would be unable to open the mystic realm left behind by that demonic path Holy Lord. Lin Ming waved his hand and 2 jade boxes flew towards Wang Yichan. After Wang Yichan received them he swept his perception through them quickly and then coldly humphed, "We're leaving." Wang Yichan brought his 2 underlings and left in great strides, leaving behind that woman with grey pupils to stand quietly in the main hall. Slowly, everyone's visions turned towards her. Chapter 757, Duanmu Kun, Lan Xin, Fengshen. Chapter 757, Duanmu Kun, Lan Xin, Fengshen. What is your name? Lin Ming asked as he looked at the young woman with the jade pendant. The young woman's dark grey pupils flashed with indifference. She didn't bother answering Lin Ming's question. The guests present were secretly whispering amongst themselves. Just what was so special about this young woman that Lin Ming would trade a mystic realm key for her? And it seemed as if Wang Yichan was extremely reluctant to do so, as if he had suffered a great loss in the process. Xingxuan, please take her away and have someone unravel the spell on her. Let her have some rest and don't let anyone disturb her. Lin Ming thought that this young woman had some emotion problems at the moment. It was best to let her relax for some time before he asked her about her life and what the secret to that jade pendant was. The young woman was taken away, leaving all the guests disappointed. They were all curious individuals and also wanted to see just what was so special about this young woman. I sincerely apologize for frightening everyone just now. Everyone, we shall exchange for some new tables and dishes and continue the celebrations once more. Lin Ming cupped his fists across his chest and apologized to all the guests. To have such a ruckus at a wedding banquet would normally cause a loss of face. However, Lin Ming's actions had been sharp and decisive. Not only did he not lose any face, but it instead caused his prestige to rise even more. It seemed that being top master of the South Sea was no longer an adequate title to describe Lin Ming. Lin Ming's battle spirit is only a small step from reaching large success of the bronze level. Moreover, it seems his battle spirit also has a strange attribute to it, otherwise it would have been impossible for him to defeat Wang Yichan with such ease. Li Yifeng said as he waved his fan. He was becoming more and more interested in Lin Ming. This is a true talent. If we can win him over to our 7-star divine kingdom, then that will be a great boost to us. Young master wants to win him over to enter our divine kingdom? The young maid near Li Yifeng asked with surprise. He has his own sect, so directly pulling him into our divine kingdom won't be easy. Such an extraordinary youth won't necessarily be willing to enter our divine kingdom. But, even if we can't win him over, being on good terms with him is also good. To the melody of an orchestra, the entire banquet continued on in a festive mood. After some time, a youth jumped onto the central stage platform and loudly exclaimed, I am the Dire Space Sect's Mo Xiaoyun. I would like to show off my meager skills for the entertainment of all. Haha, to dance around by yourself is too boring. I am Supreme Mystery Temple's Sun Tai, how about I dance with you? Another youth also jumped on stage. Although he called this dancing, the truth was that it was a contest. Of course, in order to ensure that it remained in step with the festivities, they would use as many fancy and beautiful moves as possible. In the traditions of the Sky Spill continent, whenever a large-scale celebration occurred where heroes and young elites from all over gathered together, it would be the time when the young disciples of the great sects had their chance to show off their skills. During revered Master Qianguang's birthday banquet, there had also been a great number of heroic young elites that had gone on stage to show off their skills. At that time, Lin Ming had broken apart Lei Jingtian's plot, cut down Lei Mubai, and from that point on his name had begun to resound in the South Horizon region. Of course, the current Lin Ming had gone from an invisible young disciple of a sect to the top master of the South Sea. He naturally wouldn't play around with these fellow juniors. As Li Yifeng's maid, Qing'e, saw this, her eyes lit up. A battle of juniors from the South Horizon region normally wouldn't enter her eyes to begin with. Compared to the 4 divine kingdoms, the South Horizon region's heroic young elites were not much at all. Lin Ming was simply a completely different beast. Hihi, I want to try too. Qing'e jumped on stage, her early revolving core cultivation stunning all the young elites present. Li Yifeng wryly smiled. Normally, martial artists that participated in such banquets would be around 17 or 18 years old. Qing'e's age had actually surpassed this measure. Would anyone like to come up? Qing'e issued a challenge out loud. The disciples of the South Horizon region and Five Element region immediately began complaining of this bitter situation in their hearts. Facing this girl, anyone young who came up would just embarrass themselves, but anyone older couldn't step up. For a time there was an awkward silence. "I'll play with you." At this time, a voice sounded out and Lan Xin stepped on stage. Lan Xin and Qing'e were around the same age. Both of them were beautiful and exquisite young girls. They naturally attracted everyone's attention. "Who is this blue-clothed girl with the pointy ears? She's likely young Emperor Lin's friend. She's so young and yet she wants to fight with a Divine Kingdom disciple." The guests talked amongst themselves. To them, Lan Xin was an unknown. Her opponent is a revolving core martial artist. Can this blue-clothed girl really win? As a martial artist of the Fei race, Lan Xin's cultivation was at the peak of a one-star Fei King. Her cultivation was only a step away from reaching the boundary of a two-star Fei King. Because of the different cultivation systems, none of the guests present were able to see through Lan Xin's cultivation. "Who are you?" Qing'e didn't think that anyone would actually come up and challenge her, especially one that was at her age. If she hadn't seen just how terrifying Lin Ming was with her own eyes, she would never have placed anyone here in her eyes to begin with. "Fei race, Blue-Silver Forest, Lan Xin." Lan Xin announced the name of her blue-silver holy land without any intention of hiding it. There were just far too many strange races in the Sky Spill continent. In the South Sea alone there were already innumerable deep-sea tribes. To have someone from the Fei race appear was only a novelty, nothing more. "What is the Blue-Silver Forest? I've never heard of it before. Maybe it's some island from deep within the South Sea, or maybe some forest at the bottom of the sea. This is the first time I've heard about this Fei race too." The martial artists present discussed amongst themselves. Naturally, none of them had ever heard the name of the Blue-Silver Holy Land before. Li Yifeng was playing with his fan, but in truth he had already noticed Lan Xin, Duanmu Kun, and Fengshen. These three were obviously not common talents of their generation. As for how strong they were, he had no idea. "I wonder where these strange races came from. Their cultivation paths are extremely peculiar. They don't seem much older than Qing'e, but even knowing her cultivation they still dare to challenge her. It seems they are also top talents." Although Qing'e was Li Yifeng's maiden appearance, the truth was that she was also a talented genius girl from the 7-star Divine Kingdom. Her talent was worse than a Divine Kingdom prince's, but not by much. Lin Ming smiled as he saw Lan Xin and Qing'e step up on stage, posturing themselves as they prepared to show off their skills. A 1-star Fei King was slightly better than a human early revolving core. Lan Xin was a peak 1-star Fei King and could advance into a 2-star Fei King at any given time. This was nearly equal to a human middle revolving core powerhouse. Lan Xin had the advantage of cultivation to start with, and her talent was only inferior to Duanmu Kun's. This was truly bullying others. As the many guests were expressing how they thought this battle would unfold, Lan Xin and Qing'e had already started battling each other. Most of the people present didn't think Lan Xin had a chance of winning, but the result actually left them all stunned. In just 3 moves, Lan Xin had already broken apart Qing'e's hairpin. Qing'e was originally an arrogant and overly proud girl. How could she stand taking such a blow, especially when her opponent didn't look any older than her? She couldn't allow this to stand. Not being convinced in her heart, Qing'e completely went all in. However, her defeat came even quicker. Lan Xin's cultivation completely suppressed Qing'e from all directions. In just 2 simple moves, Qing'e's longsword was sent flying away by Lan Xin. The victor and the loser were already evident. The outcome of the battle had surprised everyone, causing the atmosphere of the celebrations to immediately heat up. Everyone's discussions revolved around Lan Xin. No one thought that there would be so many heroes gathered at Lin Ming's wedding banquet. Qing'e returned to her own seat in a depressed state. She had gone up on stage to show off, but in a surprising turn of events she had been kicked into the mud instead. "I told you not to underestimate others." Li Yifeng laughed as he patted Qing'e on the shoulder. He had already guessed that if Lan Xin dared to go on stage, then she must have confidence in her own strength. But he didn't think that this Lan Xin girl would be able to defeat Qing'e so easily. "Are you still talking?" I've already lost any face I had left. I have no idea what that girl ate growing up, she simply isn't human at all, Chinga mumbled in a low voice. She felt that she had completely shamed herself just now. That young girl indeed has a suspicious origin, Li Yifeng said as he bit his fan, his eyes shining. These friends of Lin Ming had truly surprised him. He had simply belittled the heroes of this world too often. That Lan Xin girl alone was already at the level of a divine kingdom prince. As for those other two, they certainly weren't common either. Besides Lin Ming, Li Yifeng also began noticing Lan Xin, Duanmu Qin, and Fengshen. Haha, how about it? Does brother Duanmu wish to go to the 4 divine kingdoms to have a look? Lin Ming said to Duanmu Kun with a true essence sound transmission as he saw Lan Xin win with relaxed ease. This match was probably encouraged by Duanmu Kun. He wished for Lan Xin to spread out the reputation of the 3 of them in order to pave the way for their eventual entry into the 4 divine kingdoms. The 4 divine kingdoms was where the outstanding young elites of the Sky Spill continent gathered. If Duanmu Kun and the others went to the 4 divine kingdoms, they would naturally meet these people and duel with them in order to make progress. But, in order to know these people, they first had to expose part of their strength. Millimeter, I was indeed thinking that. Walking 10,000 miles is better than reading 10,000 books. The 3 of us came to the Sky Spill continent to adventure and gain experience so that we wouldn't remain frogs in a well. If the 4 divine kingdoms are where the holy lands of the Sky Spill continent are located, then we naturally must go there. Haha, I was also planning to make a journey to the 4 divine kingdoms, but I have to wait some time before then. Lin Ming had already made plans for the future. First, he wanted to study alchemical techniques and inscription techniques. The reason to learn auxiliary skill was to enhance one's soul. And the further one went in the road of martial arts, the more important the soul became. The soul was needed to move true essence, and even a battle spirit was carried within the spiritual sea. If one's soul was weak and fragile, then it would be much easier to encounter bottlenecks in the future. This was also the reason why so many supreme elders from the realm of the gods learned their own auxiliary skills. Much less, Lin Ming also cultivated the 8 inner hidden gates, so he would need a massive amount of medicines to complete his body transformation. Completely relying on lucky chances to supply him with the medicines and treasures he needed was clearly unrealistic. But in order to study alchemy techniques to a high degree, he would need a massive amount of materials, all the way from low-grade materials to heavenly treasures. This was a very high demand. It would be difficult to find all of the things he needed in a small place like the South Horizon region. I've already guessed that Brother Lin is planning to go to the 4 divine kingdoms, but we plan on setting off by ourselves first. Perhaps the 3 of us might even separate in the 4 divine kingdoms. Duanmu Kun said with a faint smile. The gap between their strength and Lin Ming's strength was already quite high, and this disparity was destined to increase, meaning that it was nearly impossible for them to continue journeying together. For instance, a mystic realm that Lin Ming could enter didn't mean that they could necessarily follow, and Lin Ming might not be interested in a mystic realm that they could enter. Millimeter, good, then this wedding celebration will also be my farewell gift to Brother Duanmu. Lin Ming's wedding ceremony would last for an entire 7 days. Of these 7 days, Lin Ming only needed to appear on the first day to personally entertain his guests. For the remaining period, all of that would be single-handedly managed by Mu Yuhuang. At night, Lin Ming finally arrived at his marriage nuptial chambers. And at this time, Mu Qianyu was sitting on a large bed, having waited there for a long time. Beside her, Qin Xingxuan was gazing in a bronze mirror, carefully helping her dress up. Chapter 758, The Wedding Night. Chapter 758, The Wedding Night. Little sister Xingxuan, is my hairpin crooked? Mu Qianyu asked Qin Xingxuan as she traced her hair. No, it's beautiful. Qin Xingxuan covered her mouth and chuckled. A wedding night was the most beautiful time of a woman's life. Mu Qianyu naturally hoped that the most beautiful moment would also unfold tonight. At this time, Qin Xingxuan heard the sounds of footsteps approaching. As she turned around, she saw that Lin Ming had entered the room. The laughing Qin Xingxuan suddenly stood up like a frightened rabbit, at a loss of what to do. Mu Qianyu tightly gripped onto Qin Xingxuan's hand and pulled her to sit back down. In truth, Mu Qianyu was also feeling extremely nervous at this time. Whether it was Mu Qianyu, Qin Xingxuan, or Lin Ming, they were all neophytes of love. Although Lin Ming's strength was abnormal and his talent was monstrous, facing things like feelings or how to coax a girl into happiness, he was absolutely ignorant towards all of this. Martial artists weren't like common mortals. They did fall in love, but their emotions didn't manifest in yearning and dreaming of others every few days. Towards Mu Qianyu and Qin Xingxuan, Lin Ming had never spoken words like "I love you" or "I like you." He had never even made promises or asked questions such as "marry me" or "be my wife." This was because mortals were not good at controlling their emotions. Once they were touched by emotions, all of their thoughts would go into chaos and they could fall to great depths of sadness or rise to great heights of happiness. As for martial cultivators, they threw themselves into their training and constantly hardened their will. In terms of feelings, even if they were profound or unforgettable, they wouldn't affect them to the point of them making overly flourishing mortal gestures. But this didn't mean that a martial cultivator's feelings weren't deep. In fact, it was just the opposite. The feelings of a martial artist who had tempered their will were even more everlasting. These were feelings and sentiments that could be eroded within a vast river for 1,000 years or even 10,000 years and still remain unswerving and unchanged. As Mu Qianyu was waiting in the nuptial chambers for Lin Ming, a single thought continued to reverberate in her heart. Her thoughts returned to the demon god imperial palace when Lin Ming had thrust the escape symbol into her palm and said to her, "Wait for me there." And 6 days later he had made true on his promise. Then he had said to her, "Come with me, to kill." These words didn't contain even a hint of the romance between men and women, but every word had sunk into her bones, bringing with it a firm, confident warmth that knew not death or fear. What echoed in Mu Qianyu's heart was far more profound and solemn than those casually spoken sweet words and honeyed phrases spoken at temporary heights of passion that could be false or true. To her, Lin Ming's words were a pledge that far surpassed any vow of eternal love. If Lin Ming really hadn't returned then, Mu Qianyu had already determined to leave that broken world and dedicate her life to training until she became powerful enough to kill every person that had harmed Lin Ming one at a time. Then, she would re-enter that broken world and live out the rest of her life accompanying Lin Ming. Such feelings did not need to be dressed up with flashy words. And for Qin Xingxuan it was even more so. When Lin Ming had come to Blood Demon Island to rescue her, his figure as he stood atop that vermilion bird and the blood flowing from his spear light had already branded itself onto her heart, becoming an eternal part of her soul that she would never forget. Joy, happiness, no regrets. If she could encompass all of these things within her feelings, then what else was there to not be satisfied with? To Lin Ming, when Mu Qianyu had crossed the destruction of Divine Phoenix Island and left behind her message at the Divine Phoenix Mystic Realm, this had left an unforgettable image on him. That was the oath that Mu Qianyu had made on the edge of death. As for Qin Xingxuan, she was the companion who had accompanied him ever since his adventure began in the Sky Fortune Kingdom. She was like Lin Ming's young neighborhood girl love. When he was in Sky Fortune City, Qin Xingxuan and her master, Mr. Mui, had helped him a great deal. Lin Minute and Qin Xingxuan had each seen the other's parents, and when Qin Xingxuan had lived with the Lin family she had constantly accompanied Lin Mu. His parents already regarded Qin Xingxuan as their future daughter-in-law. This sort of light and comfortable warmth was also a certain type of moving emotion. When Lin Ming was endlessly training himself and on the edge of collapse, he could use these warm and happy feelings to find peace of mind even in a realm of infinite slaughter. "Lin Ming, you still owe Xingxuan a wedding ceremony," Mu Qianyu suddenly said. During this wedding ceremony the announcement had only included that Lin Ming and Mu Qianyu were to be married, it hadn't included Qin Xingxuan. Lin Ming silently nodded. He gazed at Qin Xingxuan for a long moment before his eyes turned back to Mu Qianyu. Are you sure that you don't want to come to the realm of the gods with me? Because of the existence of that ancient Phoenix clan's transmission array, it wasn't necessary to break through to the divine sea to ascend to the realm of the gods. As long as Mu Qianyu desired it, she could also go to the realm of the gods together with Lin Ming. Mu Qianyu shook her head. If it wasn't for the fact that Mu Qianyu and Qin Xingxuan both existed in his heart, Lin Ming would have already held a wedding ceremony much earlier. But, facing both Mu Qianyu and Qin Xingxuan together, Lin Ming was helpless as to who to hold the wedding ceremony with first. Finally, Mu Qianyu had put forth that she wouldn't follow Lin Ming into the realm of the gods in the future. Mu Qianyu's parents had died soon after she was born. To her, Mu Yuhuang was no different from her true mother. Divine Phoenix Island held too great a significance to Mu Qianyu. All of these things were difficult to give up. If she insisted on following Lin Ming, then she would be willing to abandon everything she ever knew for him. However, Lin Ming also had Qin Xingxuan to accompany him upwards, and secondly, she didn't believe that she would be of any help to Lin Ming within the realm of the gods. If that were the case, then it was better to stay in the Sky Spill continent and raise their children, having Divine Phoenix Island become much more prosperous and magnificent, and have the Lin family flourish like never before. A family might not be a burden to a martial artist, but it was a sort of worry. After countless years passed, when their parents, wives, children, and children's children had all died, leaving them alone in the world, this type of desolate and lonely road of martial arts could easily lead to heart demons. Moreover, a deep and true love to a martial artist was a nearly spiritual dependence. It wasn't like the pleasure of the flesh, something that they could easily let go. Lin Ming didn't try persuading her anymore. Although returning to the lower realms from the realm of the gods was troublesome, it wasn't completely impossible. He could still meet with Mu Qianyu, and with his help it would be easy for her to reach the Divine Sea in the future. Then, she would have 10,000 years of life, several tens of thousands years of life, or an even longer time than that. Such a long period of time was enough for him to reach the peak of martial artists. As for what would happen once he reached that point, who knew? At this time, Qin Xingxuan slowly stood up and quietly withdrew, closing the door behind her. Since this was Mu Qianyu's wedding, she naturally had to let it take its most perfect course. As Qin Xingxuan imagined herself taking care of Lin Ming in the future, her face flushed red. Although, two women waiting on a single man together was impossible for her, wasn't it? Before ascending to the realm of the gods, Qin Xingxuan didn't want to have more intimate contact with Lin Ming. After the door closed, the atmosphere became ambiguous for a moment. Large red decorations, red bedding, a large bed, a red curtain of silk, all of this left Mu Qianyu's beautiful face a deep red. She didn't dare to look up at Lin Ming, instead keeping her head down. Lin Ming also felt a bit awkward. Before this, his contact with Mu Qianyu had been limited to kisses and hugs. Now facing such a passionate situation, a faint thrum of desire and anticipation beat in his heart. The two sat on the bed, talking to each other for a long time. From their meeting at Thundercrash Mountain to the Seven Profound Valleys Total Faction Martial Meeting. From revered Master Qianguang's birthday banquet to the adventure into the Demon God Imperial Palace, all the way to their reunion at Yin Yang Profound Palace and now finally arriving here at their own wedding. During this conversation, Lin Ming had unconsciously held onto Mu Qianyu's hands and began to kiss her dewy lips. The two took this time to roll on the bed. Then, Lin Ming gently untied Mu Qianyu's clothing, revealing her otherworldly body. Her body was completely exposed under the swaying candlelight of the night, a hazy layer of light seeming to caress her. Mu Qianyu's cheeks turned bright red. She raised her pair of jade-like hands to cover her chest, her heart racing like a frantic drum. Lin Ming held onto Mu Qianyu, kissing and stroking her warm and soft breasts. At this time, a fire began to blaze in Lin Ming's heart and he slowly separated her flawless legs. Mu Qianyu's eyes were misty and her long eyelashes trembled as her entire being was immersed in a beautiful spring. It was like she couldn't distinguish between fantasy and illusion until a sharp pain suddenly awakened her from the evanescent dream. As she looked into the face of her most beloved man, she didn't know why, but 2 teardrops streamed down her face. She was not bewitched by this love between women and men, but at this moment an everlasting mark had branded itself in her heart. She completely melted into Lin Ming's body. Happiness, satisfaction, euphoria, exhilaration, longing. All of this mixed in with a slight, pleasantly aching pain, leaving her breathless with joy, unable to think or speak clearly. On the next morning, the sun had just risen and a light morning mist enveloped the entirety of Divine Phoenix Island, leaving a thin layer of dew over the land. Lin Ming woke up from his deep and fragrant sleep. As he saw Mu Qianyu snuggled up in his chest, his heart was filled with satisfaction. Mu Qianyu was a light sleeper. By the time Lin Ming woke up, she had already been awake for a long time. It was just that she was drowning in her shy feelings and didn't want to open her eyes. As Lin Ming looked at her, a childlike playfulness suddenly came over him. He began reaching for Mu Qianyu's sensitive parts and tickling her. How could Mu Qianyu stand this? She instantly grabbed his hand and jokingly admonished him, "Stop it, you naughty boy." Lin Ming devilishly smiled. After that night of love, he could already be considered as having been captivated by these feelings. Millimeter, that's right, about that young woman you traded for the white jade key, what sort of special secret is on her? Why would you fight with Wang Yichan for her? Mu Qianyu quickly changed the topic as she saw that Lin Ming wanted to play more dirty tricks on her. As this serious matter was brought up, Lin Ming became more solemn. I'm not sure why Wang Yichan would fight me for her, but the reason I exchanged the key for her was. Lin Ming didn't have any intention of hiding anything from Mu Qianyu. He completely told her of his experiences in the eternal demon abyss. After hearing of this bizarre occurrence, Mu Qianyu was horrified. There was also this sort of matter. That's the reason I thought that young girl might be related to the goddess in the eternal demon abyss. Let's quickly go and visit her so we can ask her about her life and what the origin of that jade pendant is. All right, then I'll go together with you. Mu Qianyu was about to stand up and put on her clothes, but as she noticed that Lin Ming's eyes were locked onto her body, she blushed a deep red and shyly said, "You put on your clothes and leave first." Chapter 759, The Young Girl's Mystery, The Forsaken God Clan. Chapter 759, The Young Girl's Mystery, The Forsaken God Clan. The Eternal Demon Abyss held an infinite charm to the martial artists of the Holy Demon Continent. There were many emperor powerhouses that would venture into the Eternal Demon Abyss when they lost all hope of making a breakthrough, in a desire to stumble upon a lucky chance within. And, the result was that none of them ever returned. Not even the number one powerhouse of the Holy Demon Continent was an exception. Even so, many powerhouses held a lifelong desire to adventure into the Eternal Demon Abyss and explore the mysteries inside. This was because that land was far too mystical. There were powerful existences within the Eternal Demon Abyss that would shock anyone. Lin Ming also had an endless interest in the Eternal Demon Abyss. Before, Lin Ming had also been filled with curiosity towards the Divine Phoenix mystic realm and the ancient Phoenix clan. However, the mysteries of the Divine Phoenix mystic realm had already been revealed. Because there were far too many people within the realm of the gods, there were often branches of sects and families that would move into the lower realms. The branches of the realm of the gods' Phoenix clan were also no exception. This was the origin of the Divine Phoenix mystic realm. But as for the Eternal Demon Abyss, Lin Ming felt that the land was simply covered by inscrutable mysteries. He thought back to that massive god-beast in the 1,000-mile Forbidden Zone whose body spanned thousands of miles, and he also thought back to the heart of that great emperor which had beat eternally for 100,000 years in the flawless corpse of the goddess that had existed in lifelike slumber for 100,000 years. If these things were truly left over by a side branch from the realm of the gods, then that was truly unbelievable. Lin Ming suspected that perhaps the owner of that beating heart still existed in the realm of the gods, and might even be in existence who stood at the peak of martial arts. He might even be in existence that the demon emperor or the sorcerer of the southern wilderness divine kingdom could not hope to ever compare with. Why would such a character appear in the Sky Spill continent? Why was his heart sealed within the goddess body? Was he dead? Or was he alive? If that goddess was that great emperor's most important person, then why would he leave her alone in that lonely grave in the 1,000-mile Forbidden Zone? Lin Ming and Mu Qianyu made their way to that mysterious young girl's room. As they pushed the door open, they saw that the young girl was dressed in fresh white clothes, her back facing them as she gazed out the window, her hair falling down her shoulders like a cascading waterfall. Beside the young girl, the bed was still neat and ordered as if she hadn't slept at all. instead having sat at the windowsill all night long. As Mu Qianyu looked at this young girl's back, she felt an inexplicable pain fill her heart. "Miss, what's your name?" The young girl turned to look at the two of them, her dark grey pupils flashing with a cold indifference. She didn't speak, instead completely ignoring Mu Qianyu's question. She seems to have sealed away her heart and trust in anyone. "I have no idea just what she has experienced in her life," Mu Qianyu said to Lin Ming with a true essence sound transmission. Lin Ming thought for a moment. If this were the case, then wanting to find out the truth of her life was impossible at this time. Lin Ming traced his spatial ring and an azure jade pendant appeared in his hand. "Miss, do you recognize this?" As the young girl saw the jade pendant held high in Lin Ming's hand, a change finally occurred in her expression. She subconsciously traced her own chest, feeling that familiar warmth. The jade pendant was still here. Were there two jade pendants? "You," the young girl finally spoke. This was the first time that Lin Ming had heard her speak since he first saw her. Her voice was pleasant but had a very peculiar accent that followed it. "Where did your jade pendant come from?" Lin Ming faintly smiled and put the jade pendant away. "Before I answer your question, I need you to answer one of mine first. I would like to know about your life." The young girl hesitated for a moment, a flash of confusion passing through her dark grey pupils. Then, she whispered, I am from the Forsaken God clan." "Forsaken God clan?" Lin Ming's eyebrows shot up. "Tell me more." "We are a cursed clan. We have no surname, no origin. The ancestors of my clan angered the gods and thus they were punished for their sins. Their sins have passed on to their descendants and now on to me. This tattoo seal on my face is the symbol of my cursed bloodline." "Curse? What curse?" Lin Ming had already noticed the strange tattoo seal on the young girl's face. He had thought it was unusual, but he never imagined that it was actually the manifestation of a curse. "In my clan, right after birth, every span of time we are cursed to suffer an unendurable pain, a pain that torments us to our very marrow. This pain originates from the tattoo seal on our face. As we grow older, this excruciating outbreak will happen less and less, but the time for which it happens will become increasingly long, continuing until we die from pain or commit suicide. Only by practicing martial arts would we gain the strength and will of mind to endure and suppress this pain. However, what is sad is that no matter how talented the children of my clan are, they are unable to break free from the chains of their destiny. No matter how high their cultivation reaches, they will one day die to this blood curse." The young girl's words were completely out of Lin Ming's expectations. He originally thought that a clan related to the goddess of the eternal demon abyss might be a great clan with a glorious and wonderful history. But, hearing the truth from this young girl's mouth, she actually came from the Forsaken God clan, every generation of her bloodline cursed to eternal torment. Were they the descendants of the goddess? If so, then how could such a heaven-shaking and powerful goddess descendant have been reduced to such a pitiful state? "Do you know who the ancestors of your clan are? Do they have names? What was their history like and how did they offend these so-called gods?" The young girl shook her head. The past had been far too long ago and the truth of history had been buried in the endless river of time. It was simply impossible to discover the truth of ancient times. The ancestors have only left us two binding words to guide us. "What are they?" "Continue on." As Lin Ming heard these two simple words, he felt his mind shake. Such simple words passed down by these ancestors and yet they seemed to contain a compulsion, an unwillingness to submit. "Continue on, continue on, continue on." Lin Ming looked at this young girl once again, his heart filled with a new trace of awe and respect. This was a truly mysterious clan. If they truly were the descendants of the goddess, then they had lived under the power of this bloodline curse for over 100,000 years. Even if the history of their clan had been lost, or even if the glorious past of their clan was buried in the dust, that unyielding struggle with their destiny had engraved itself into their bones, becoming a continuing stubbornness that had followed that bloodline curse, forever running together, side by side. Lin Minute took a deep breath and said, "I also have another question. Why would Wang Yichan desire you?" After Lin Ming asked this question, the young girl didn't reply. Instead, She looked at Lin Ming, her eyes solemn. Lin Ming knowingly replied, "All right, then I will answer your question first. My jade pendant came from an ancient tomb." Lin Ming didn't describe the eternal demon abyss too much. He only spoke of a forbidden zone and how he had chased a corpse devil to an ancient gravesite. He completely revealed to this mysterious young girl of how he saw the goddess and heard her summoning call, and even about the existence of that great emperor's heart. As the young girl heard this, she was completely dazed. She was unable to speak. All she felt was an inexplicable pain swell up in her chest, making it so that she nearly couldn't breathe. She didn't know why, but she felt a deep emotional pain. Could that goddess in the coffin be the ancestor of her clan? Just what sort of history had her clan borne? Why did she feel a deep grief from her very bloodline as she heard this story? Lin Ming silently stood to the side, waiting for the young girl to finish her sentimental recollection and also waiting for her reply. After a quarter hour, the young girl finally said, "The reason Wang Yichan wants me is because of my bloodline seal." Bloodline seal? Lin Ming's mind stirred. He knew this phrase before from the memories of the realm of the gods' supreme elders. The so-called bloodline seal was a special bloodline ability passed down within clans. It was a sort of ability that was only inherited by direct descendants. In a sense, the affinity with fire laws that the ancient Phoenix clan had could also be considered a type of bloodline seal. However, it just wasn't special enough. There were some families and clans that had extremely special bloodlines. For instance, nether eyes that could see through all ghosts and illusions, or specialized body transformation techniques that allowed one to willfully utilize every muscle in their body. The young girl said, "My clan's bloodline seal is an extremely special ability that only manifests in a very small minority of our descendants. And I am one of them. What I can use is a special force field called the support sphere." Support sphere? Lin Ming's eyebrows shot up. A domain ability? Some descendants of my clan can form a force field in an area, increasing the combat strength of martial artists within. This increases a martial artist's regenerative ability, speed, defense, attack power, and can even enhance their will, soul force, and perception. As for my support sphere, I can use it to increase a martial artist's speed, attack strength, and will. I see. Lin Ming was suddenly enlightened. This sort of ability was truly special. This young girl was able to enhance a martial artist's will, and the essence of a battle spirit was based on a martial artist's will. The stronger one's will, the stronger one's battle spirit. As for that Wang Yichan, he was originally someone who excelled in the aspect of will, so it was natural that he desired this young girl. The young girl continued, "Wang Yichan captured me and tried to place spells in my spiritual sea. He tried slave seals and all sorts of other tricks. However, because of the special nature of my bloodline seal, everything he tried failed. He wanted me to quickly train until I reached a revolving core or life destruction cultivation, and then I could become a great boost to him in battle. However, I was unwilling to become the pawn of others. In these last 2 years I refused to train at all. My cultivation did not increase even the smallest bit, and instead regressed. Then, Wang Yichan tried to ease the relations between us. He would have me at his side every day and care for me, protecting me, and declaring to all that I was his concubine in order to change my thoughts of him. So that's what happened." Lin Ming finally understood why this young girl had such a stalwart disposition. He guessed that Wang Yichan was also at his limit. If she were a support to him that he had already raised up, then he probably wouldn't have given her up no matter what. "What's your name?" The girl hesitated for a moment and then said, "Ju." A single name, meaning beautiful jade but with a decisive joining. It was mellow, soft, and yet staunch, fully in line with this young girl's character. "How old are you?" 19. 19, Lin Ming was shocked. At 19 years of age, she hadn't practiced for 2 whole years and yet was still at the late Hutian realm. If she did cultivate, then she would have already broken through to the Xiantian realm by now. This young girl's talent was far better than what he had imagined it to be. If she had truly been willing to cooperate with Wang Yichan, then the power they could release together in the future would have been immeasurable. Unfortunately, Lin Ming still hadn't managed to obtain any information from this young girl about the goddess that slept in her tomb. To him, that goddess remained an eternal riddle. Chapter 760, Wood Spirit Jade. Chapter 760, Wood Spirit Jade. Xingxuan, Yua. In Mu Qianyu's bridal chamber, Lin Ming had called in Qin Xingxuan and Mu Qianyu. As the two young women sat shoulder to shoulder on the bed, their figures complementing the red silk sheets was far too beautiful to behold. Several months had passed since Lin Ming killed Xian Wuji. Lin Ming had momentarily suspended his cultivating, spending a good period of his time meditating on the alchemy techniques left behind by the realm of the gods' alchemist, as well as spending time with his parents and family. After his marriage with Mu Qianyu, Lin Ming's thoughts had become bedeviled by the relations between men and women, and he had shared in these sensual pleasures with her every night. "This is for you." Lin Ming took out 2 square crystals from his spatial ring. Every crystal block had 2 drops of red liquid sealed within. These red drops looked thick and viscous, as if they were crimson pearls. "What is that?" As Mu Qianyu saw these 4 drops of red liquid, she felt her heart jump. She could clearly feel that there was something extraordinary about these red drops of liquid. "This is the blood of the ancient phoenix," Lin Ming said. Hearing these words, Qin Xingxuan was already surprised to the point of being spellbound. As for Mu Qianyu, her eyes were completely wide, a look of astonishment and disbelief coloring her face. "Blood of the ancient phoenix? As in the phoenix god beast?" Yes. When he was still at time-worn Phoenix City, he had obtained a total of 110 drops of ancient phoenix blood. Of these, the first 100 were given to Lin Ming first and then directly absorbed by him. The next 10 drops were only delivered to Lin Ming several days later. However, he didn't use them because the effects wouldn't be obvious for him anymore. Thus, it was better for him to give Mu Qianyu and Qin Xingxuan 2 drops each so that this could greatly improve their physiques. As for the remaining 6 drops, he intended to save those for emergencies. For instance, when Qin Xingxuan had exhausted her blood essence at Blood Demon Island, if it wasn't for Lin Ming coincidentally having vermilion bird blood essence with him, then Qin Xingxuan would have already perished. "Lin Ming, where did you get this blood of the ancient phoenix?" Mu Qianyu asked, short of breath. She had only read of this blood of the ancient phoenix in the ancient texts of divine Phoenix Island. Still, she had always thought that these were legends. She never imagined that this sort of treasure actually existed in the Sky Spill continent. At the King-level smelting trial. "You participated in the King-level smelting trial?" Mu Qianyu's large eyes widened even further. When Lin Ming had told her about the smelting trial rules of the divine Phoenix mystic realm, the King-level smelting trial had been the highest level possible. And yet Lin Ming had actually completed it. "Yes, this ancient phoenix blood is the reward of the smelting trial." "Then you should absorb it," Qin Xingxuan suddenly said. Mu Qianyu also nodded. The effects of the blood would show their true potential under Lin Ming. "I've already absorbed far too much, a few more drops won't have much effect." Lin Ming pointed at the flame mark between his eyebrows. "Don't you feel it?" Since Lin Ming first absorbed the blood of the ancient phoenix, a faint pressure had always emitted from his body, especially on those martial artists with the vermilion bird bloodline. However, Lin Ming normally suppressed this pressure, and since his strength was already so formidable to begin with, everyone that was around him often enough became accustomed to it. Thus, Mu Qianyu hadn't asked any questions. As Mu Qianyu heard Lin Ming's words, she wasn't sure just what expression she should have. That blood of the ancient phoenix that was only depicted in the ancient texts of divine Phoenix Island. Lin Ming had actually said that a few more drops wouldn't have any effect. As Lin Ming saw Mu Qianyu's thoughts written all over her face, he laughed and said, "Yua, in the realm of the gods a phoenix might have a body that spans thousands of miles long. Who knows just how large it is? If all of its blood were taken out, then it might be enough to drown a city. What I have here is only 4 drops, and it is also the most ordinary phoenix blood. It's not as if it's blood essence or something like that. It's not as exaggerated as you think." Hearing Lin Ming speak, Mu Qianyu didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. "This might not be much to you, but it's a great lucky chance for me. My talent is at the peak of the saint level, and these 2 drops of ancient phoenix blood will be enough for me to enter the emperor level. Don't speak of this ancient phoenix blood. In divine Phoenix Island, even vermilion bird blood essence is enough to make others go crazy. They couldn't even imagine the blood of the ancient phoenix. With these 2 drops of ancient phoenix blood, that is enough for an ordinary talent to become a saint-level talent. In terms of talent, it was easier to raise the more mundane one was. For an ordinary talent to become a saint-level talent, all they would need was a single great lucky chance. For instance, 2 drops of ancient phoenix blood. As for a saint-level talent rising to an emperor-level talent, that would require the accumulation of several lucky chances. In addition, a martial artist would also need to have extraordinary natural talent to begin with. And above an emperor-level talent, if one wanted to rise to the ranks of Hua Wenlong and Hua Yu, that was even more difficult. At that time, something that might be a great lucky chance to a saint-level talent might only be standard treasure for someone like Hua Wenlong. For instance, this ancient phoenix blood. To a talent like Hua Wenlong, this basically wasn't a great lucky chance because Hua Wenlong already had an extremely rich ancient phoenix bloodline to begin with. Thus, this was something that was basic for him and that he should naturally have. Conversely, it would be a disadvantage if he didn't. So even if Lin Ming absorbed another 100 drops of ancient phoenix blood, this would only allow him to become a bit stronger. It wouldn't increase his talent to another level. Lin Ming's comprehension of fire laws should have been something a genius of his talent level could accomplish. Otherwise, they were lacking to begin with. Yue, Xingxuan, I've already made an appointment with Liafeng to go to the 9-Furnace Divine Kingdom. I leave 1 month from now. During this journey, I might be gone for several years. Of the 4 divine kingdoms, the strongest was the 9-Furnace Divine Kingdom. They were also famed for their alchemy techniques. Since Lin Ming wished to study alchemy, it was naturally the best choice for him to go to the 9-Furnace Divine Kingdom. Alchemy was an extremely complex skill. In order to refine pills within a furnace, it required more than just a variety of spiritual herbs and treasures. There were special materials needed to direct the mixture and also to form the medicinal base. If he wanted to create high-level pills, there was one material he absolutely couldn't do without. That was wood spirit jade. Wood spirit jade and demon god bones were similar items. Demon god bones were formed when the leftover energy field of powerhouses or saint beasts was sealed underground, slowly condensing over a period of tens of thousands of years. As for wood spirit jade, those originated from spiritual woods and herbs that remained unpicked by others and eventually died a natural death. Then, their rich energy and fruits would be buried in the ground for tens or even hundreds of thousands of years before finally condensing into a wood spirit jade. The former was an animal and the latter was a plant. Both were formed through similar principles, but there was actually a big difference between the two. Since Lin Ming wished to study alchemy, he needed a massive amount of wood spirit jade. However, this sort of material was extremely difficult to find in the South Horizon region. Although there was a great amount of wood spirit jade in the 9-Furnace Divine Kingdom, it was collected by others as a rare resource. With Lin Ming's current finances, buying a small amount to use was no problem. But, if he wished to use a great amount, especially high-quality wood spirit jade multiple times, then this was something that even Lin Ming's wealth couldn't support. Not to mention that he didn't have the wealth to support continued use, but the main problem was that wood spirit jade was a material that couldn't necessarily be bought. Lin Ming had taken inventory of all his belongings. Up until now, the strongest powerhouse he killed was the 4th-stage life destruction Xian Wuji. As for the rest of his wealth, the next 2 with the most resources had been the 2 helpers of Xian Wuji that had helped him lay down the Great Array Formation in the Deep Sea as well as the South Sea Demon Region's elders. All of these people added together had a wealth equal to that of Xian Wuji. In other words, Lin Ming was currently quite wealthy amongst high-level life destruction powerhouses. However, he was far from being able to compare with a divine sea powerhouse. Of course, this was assuming that Lin Ming didn't sell the Heaven-Step Demon Godbone or the blood of the ancient phoenix. These 2 treasures were naturally not something that Lin Ming would casually use. If Lin Ming wanted to go to the 9-Furnace Divine Kingdom to find wood spirit jade, it would be impossible for him to purchase it with his wealth. And he couldn't purchase it to begin with since there was no place to do so. So, Lin Ming could only rely on the rich knowledge inherited from that realm of the gods' alchemist to seek wood spirit jade and excavate it on his own. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that every alchemist could also be called a skilled geologist and explorer. In order to look for wood spirit jade, and especially high-quality wood spirit jade, one would often have to search hundreds or even thousands of feet underground. A martial artist's perception had problems penetrating underground to begin with, much less the fact that the regions where wood spirit jade existed often had special geological features that interfered with perception. With these factors combined, an alchemist could only rely on their experience and knowledge to search for wood spirit jade. For the remaining month, Lin Ming closed up to thoroughly research alchemy techniques. Although the memories of that realm of the gods' alchemist had been completely etched into his mind, integrating and mastering this information was still a very long and arduous process. During his research of alchemy techniques, when his mind was fatigued, Lin Ming would take out a demon godbone and continue training. After some time, Lin Ming had already gone from the early revolving core realm to stabilizing himself firmly in the center. However, he still had a very long road until he reached the life destruction realm. From revolving core to life destruction could be considered a large boundary. To a human martial artist, this was the process of their body being transformed and reborn into something new. Before life destruction, that was a mortal body. After life destruction, that was a spirit body. This sort of transformative process was completely different from the body transformation process of washing the marrow and tempering the body. Once body transformation was brought to the point of 100% tempering marrow with the 8 inner hidden gates opened and the 9 stars of the Tao Palace afterwards, then a martial artist would have a body comparable to a saint artifact, indestructible and invincible. They could raise their hand to sink the stars and shatter the moon, and their roar could kill weaker martial artists. A spirit body was different. Even though it was a spirit body, the defensive power was still frail, and without the protection of true essence it would easily be pierced through by weapons. The role of the spirit body was to converge the origin energy of the heavens and earth. A revolving core realm martial artist could only store true essence in their dantian and meridians. It was also impossible for them to directly absorb heaven and earth origin energy with their bodies. Rather, they had to rely on their many acupoints. But after life destruction, that mortal body would reform from scratch, expelling all impurities and activating every cell so that they could actively absorb heaven and earth origin energy. Thus, a martial artist with a spirit body completely didn't need acupoints and could use their bodies to absorb heaven and earth origin energy. This meant that a life destruction martial artist would have a total true essence quantity several times that of a revolving core martial artist. Even their resilience and endurance would greatly increase. This was also the reason why a life destruction martial artist's strength leapt upwards. If Lin Ming could reach life destruction, then not only would he have a spirit body, but he would also be tempered with the 8 inner hidden gates and have a bodily durability equal to that of a treasure. To have both of these benefits was the advantage of dual cultivating in body and essence. Without noticing, until up the day that Lin Ming and Li Yifeng's agreed appointment was, Lin Ming still didn't have an understanding of the 4 divine kingdoms. In fact, he didn't even know all of the 4 divine kingdoms' names. To have a guide was wonderful. Not to mention anything else, but there was a trip of millions upon millions of miles to go from Divine Phoenix Island to the 4 divine kingdoms, and there were hundreds of large and small transmission arrays that had to be passed through. Without Li Yifeng's help, passing through these transmission arrays wouldn't be easy. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.